Good morning and welcome, everybody. I'd like to call us to order on this Monday, October 16th, 2023 workshop of the Lake County School Board. If we could, let's go ahead and please rise for a moment of silence. Follow that with the pledge. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, excellent. Oh, I don't have any public input cards this morning, so I think we'll get right started in our topics. Kelly Randall coming forward. Our first one, update on the Wellness Way school site contracts. Welcome, good morning.
Good morning. Superintendent. We all know I am just the one at war with that today, so we'll get moving on this, and I'll be pretty quick. I just want to let you know we're working on finalizing. We are working on finalizing contracts on 2 school sites in the Wellness Way area. I have to give a shout out to the City of Claremont and Lake County. They have both kept school sites at the forefront as they've gone through the development process for Wellness Way. And so honestly, they have been very instrumental in getting us to where we are today. So I hope to have these contracts before you by the end of the year. And I just wanted to kind of give you a few things. It's early in the development process for this area, and so there's a couple of special provisions here. We are working on 2 sites. We kind of put together this location map out of all the things that we've collected on this, but you can see there's a high school site just north of Olympus and across from kind of the north part of Lake Louisa State Park, and then an elementary school site that will be on the extension of South Hancock Road as it moves down and meets up with the Wellness Way Boulevard.
A K-8?
It is sized for an elementary school. So we actually have a lot of middle school capacity. What I think in the immediate future is that we will have middle school capacity at Windy Hill Middle School, especially with the expansion that we did there. And then the elementary school will be Sawgrass Bay in the immediate future, and then eventually we will need elementary school capacity there. What we project for the long term is that it's a high school, a middle school, and 3 elementary schools, or some combination of that capacity. So if we want to look at K-8s for future school sites, we'll probably still need 2 school sites there. So as the county part of this develops, we'll be looking for additional school sites. And we can consider K-8s at this point, but this site is 15 acres. So for us, it would be very tight for a K-8.
Okay. Is Pinecrest still looking at that area?
Yeah.
Or what, though? An elementary or a middle or a high?
They would probably do a K-8.
Okay.
It's a K-8.
Yeah. And then also Charters USA has a charter for something in that general location as well. So it may be that, it's our school and then 2 charter K-8s. We'll kind of see as the area develops what happens there. Okay, so on the high school site, the price is $150,000 per acre. It will be somewhere between 55 and 65 acres, and we'll determine that final acreage as we go through the master planning provisions. So the contract provides for us to have a final boundary before closing. So we'll know exactly what that acreage is at that point. We have a 120-day inspection period plus a 60-day master planning period with a 60-day extension. There are a few additional costs. The developer went ahead and did a sand skink study, and we have agreed to reimburse him for that. And then that was a timing issue. There's only a certain window that you can do skink studies on. And so, And then also, because this is so early in the development process, they are extending the utilities as part of kind of a pioneer agreement. Lennar is actually doing that, and everybody else is reimbursing them. So we would be part of that reimbursement. For the high school site, they have calculated that at a not to exceed of $384,000. And then in the high school, we are anticipating a cash payment for everything. The capital plan has the money in it for this. We've been anticipating this. So we do have the capital plan basically allocates money towards this. Okay,
I have a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Do you know how much the reimbursement is for the skink study?
It is, it's a blank in the contract right now, but it's fairly minimal. I think it's probably around $30,000.
Thank you.
23 sticks out in my head for some reason.
What's that?
23,000.
23,
For some reason.
somewhere, yeah, I mean, it's, in terms of environmental studies, it's relatively minimal. In terms of the size of this contract, it's relatively minimal. So somewhere between 20 and 30,000 is I think the final number. So we had a conceptual test fit done on this site just to make sure that it did work. This is the concept. Of course, it's going to depend on who's selected as the architect. We're going to do some additional master planning, and so this is an idea of what it could look like, but I think that there's a lot of development to go forward with that. There is a full access point onto US 27 that we can utilize. There's also right-of-way, if you see kind of that yellowish line that runs between the site and US 27, that is North Bradshaw Road. And so as we talk to the county about accessing this site, we can look at whether we would want to use part of that right-of-way or how that would work. And then the primary access point would actually be on the south side of that. It would connect Wellness Way, kind of loop over and connect to North Hancock Road. And so we anticipate that really being more of the parental access point and student access point for this site. So as far as access, when we're this early in the development process, it's always a question. There is legal access from US 27, like I said, North Bradshaw Road, although right now that's a dirt road. The seller is to construct the south access road, that loop that runs between Wellness Way and South Hancock. And we would be, per the contract, responsible if the county or the city require a traffic control device there at the entrance to the school, we would be responsible for that. So if that's a roundabout or a signal, something like that, when we actually went through to build this school, we would be responsible for it. And then the utility connections, the seller is to extend the utilities to the site. And one of the things that we were concerned about is timing. Say something happens and it takes a while to develop this whole area. There is a provision for what they call the self-help, basically a pioneer agreement that the district could pioneer those. I don't anticipate having to use that, but I do think that it's a good idea to have that in the contract and the ability to do that if we have to. And then it would be reimbursed by the other developers as they came in through that. And then the contract does anticipate a post-closing agreement to memorialize all of those details. And so James and I would be working with the developer through that before closing. So the elementary school site, again, $150,000 per acre. It is 15 acres. The inspection period and master planning period are the same. In this, we actually anticipate trying to use impact fee credits. The developer is amenable to that. We would need to work through that process with the county. There is a provision in the county's Code of Ordinances that there's a process for that. We've been in touch with them already to talk about what that looks like. And so we would work through that process, try and make sure that we have that agreement before we close. And then that actually saves us some cash. So we move forward with that. We would have to pay, again, that contribution to the utility extension. For the elementary school site, it is $128,000. And this is a conceptual test fit for that site. We did ask that they include on-site retention to make sure that we could fit that. 15 acres would be the smallest that we've built an elementary school on for a while. I think Sorrento was the other smallest site, and that was like 17 acres. So, we wanted to make sure that it would fit. I think that there's still some areas of discussion. There is a retention pond that they're going to build as a joint retention pond just to the south of this. So there's some possibility that we'll be able to participate in that pond and be able to move forward with off-site retention, which would actually open up a little bit more land on our site. And then we've also had discussions about the access points. There is an access off of South Hancock Road. That section has not been built yet. We do anticipate that it'll be built long before we go to build our elementary school. But again, if not, there's that self-help provision that we could do that. I don't think we really want to, but we could if push comes to shove. But I think that'll be built by the developers long before we go to build an elementary school.
Kelly, real quick, and I know it's just a conceptual map, but in general, on elementary school sites, I see where, in here it says future portables, kind of if necessary. Do we always plan for that? Does the state tell us to do that, or? Okay.
So it's funny you should bring that one up, because as we were looking at this when we were meeting with the city of Claremont and some county folks and so on and so forth, I said, boy, it'd be really great if we could somehow make that, shift this site around so that way we could easily add an extension or a wing onto the school rather than portables, because, once you do that, you're kind of locked into, so you want to be able to easily, Grassy Lake would be your great example, right? Where you don't want to build a wing, but now you got portables where you need to build a wing.
Exactly.
So it is clearly just a test fit, and I'm
Just a
hopeful
test
that
fit.
we'll be able to
It
sort
was-
those sorts of details out later.
Yes, and if we can get off-site retention, that gives us a lot more flexibility and opportunities to be able to do that.
Approximately how many students would fit at a school on this particular test fit?
So about 940, which is
Okay.
kind of our standard elementary school size. It's Grassy Lake, original Grassy
Right.
Lake. Sorrento, the original Sawgrass Bay. Okay, so there's been some discussion in the meeting that we had with the county. There was some discussion about maybe being able to, I'm not even going to commit them to that, but there was some discussion with the county about some other access points that would also open up some flexibility on our site. And then, so that's all I have on the Wellness Way. If anybody has any more questions on those, okay. Again, I hope to have those to you by the end of the year. We are pushing hard, and the county is helping us, and county and city are helping us with that. So finally, just some other updates. James and I have been working hard on trying to wrap up some of the real estate things. The Stover Field purchase, we are finalizing that contract and a joint use agreement with them. It's been a lot of back and forth, so we'll hopefully have that to you relatively soon as well. And after what feels like forever and ever, Mr. Mathias, how long did we say was 4 or 5 years that we?
5 now.
5 years. I think this week, James, we are closing on the K-8 site in the hills of Mineola. So
I
we
signed the
will all
papers.
have something to say. You signed the
Go to
papers.
his office and sign the papers.
Should have the file
Yes.
this afternoon. So-
Everybody knock on wood, cross your fingers, pray if you want to, but yes, we are excited to move forward with that. And then also on the McKinney Park sale to the city of Claremont, we should be closing on that. So that is all I have, unless
Kelly,
you have
as
some
one
more
more
questions.
quick step back, what's the working number we're at right now for Wellness Way High School?
For construction, I think that you should easily be prepared for $150 million. Probably, maybe more. It's leveling out, but I think costs are just level. Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Kelly,
you.
appreciate all that information. All right, so with that, we'll transition into 3.02, which is the Design for Professional Services for Beverly Shores Elementary. We have 5 architectural groups here to present for us. We're going to get a little bit of a briefing beforehand, and you're welcome.
Good morning, members of the board, superintendent. So, as the chairman indicated, we have 5 vendors that are going to be here before you doing presentations for your consideration. On 8/24, Procurement Services released the RFQ, and in response, we received 13 proposals for consideration. So, the committee, we have an evaluation committee consisted of members from the district, including the principal, and one from outside the district. And on the 28th, they looked at all the proposals and shortlisted 5 vendors for your consideration today. These are the vendors: BRPH, Harvard Jolly, Rhodes and Brito, Schinkel, Schultz, and Ziskovich. And this is the order that they're going to go in. We just decided, based on alphabetical order, that they're going to come in and do their presentations. Each vendor is allocated 20 minutes for their presentation, followed by no more than 15 minutes of Q&A for you guys to ask based on their presentations. They were all given the evaluation criteria for their presentations, and they're all before you. Knowledge of the site and local conditions, local area demographics, overall approach and methodology, and cost control and value engineering. And the rubric in front of you, you actually will have the task today to listen to their presentations, make notes for each, and then ultimately score their rank them and score their presentations. That is your task for the day. We can reserve time after all the presentations are done to have discussion here about each vendor. Just all I ask is that you reserve your kind of leaning or ranking for the vendors to your comments, and then send these results to me. I'll compile the results, share it with the superintendent, and then we'll go from there. If we want this item to be on the board agenda for next Monday, if you want it, I could have your results by tomorrow. That way I can compile it and share it with the superintendent. Otherwise, then we'll have to move it to the following board date.
Just a quick reminder that your sheets are going to be public records also,
Yep.
comments, everything, so.
Yeah, I'm going through that. So the goal is to score, rank, based on the evaluation criteria described here. Price will not be considered. This is an RFQ, so we're only ranking them based on their qualifications and in terms of what they presented to you today. That's how we're going to do it. Once we have the first, second, and third, then we go into negotiation with the first ranked and highly scored vendor, and they'll have up to 45 days to come up with terms of the pricing. They've already accepted our legal terms, so we don't have a problem with that. It's just a matter of negotiating the price and this kind of refining the scope a little bit and all that.
Do they know what our budget is?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
so
everybody-
presumably their presentation or what they're envisioning should be within some sort of.
Yes. They were all given the budget in the RFQ.
Okay.
Their proposals indicated that, so they all have that information. Like I said, you may make notes during their presentations just to keep track of who said what. And like James indicated, they're all public records. Okay? As I indicated, reserve any discussion of who you're leaning to your notes. Please input your scores, score justification, comments, and rank on the sheets provided. And I've emailed this to you ahead of time, so you have an electronic copy of that. Once you complete the evaluation, just email them back to me, and then I'll share them with the superintendent.
Do what again?
Any questions? Yes.
We're going to fill this out, right?
Yes. Yes. This is.
What,
You have an
electronically sent?
You have an electronic copy. There was an email that was sent.
We
I
don't
will
have to send
resend it to you.
electronic to you. We're going to give you this one.
Either way.
Yeah, you can either way.
We're going to finish them today and hand them in, right? Or no?
You can finish them today and hand them over, and I can compile the results for the superintendent, or you can do it electronically and email it too. Either way works. But if we want it to be on the board agenda for next Monday, if we can have, I can have them by tomorrow. Because this will ultimately end up going into our system, because it's public records and everybody would want to know. As a debrief for the vendors, they would want to know what the committee, and you are the committee, so.
You understand all that? Any questions?
I got it.
Okay,
Any questions?
right.
So you have the evaluation criteria, you have a description for each criterion in here, and each sheet represents one vendor. So there are 5 sheets.
Right.
And I'm going to turn it over to the principal so she could talk to you about the vision.
This has been a very exciting experience, so I thank you for the opportunity. So at Beverly Shores, we're really working to attract more students and to build, obviously, academically, that's, our goal, but also just the whole child. And so this year, we've started building more opportunities to get kids involved. I have a steel band that we're really proud of building. Also, we've got theater that we're working on. And so all of those things in our vision is to include like a bigger fine arts. I've got a great art department, so, that's kind of where we're looking is to attract students using fine arts.
And we took the vendors to the school right after. So the shortlisted visited the site, they saw everything, and so that they have an idea of what they're getting into.
And they benefited from your vision as well. They heard that presentation.
Yes, sir.
And they've visited the site, so hopefully we should get to see some pretty exciting proposals today.
All right, you ready?
I think so. All right.
Okay,
It looks
I'm
like
gonna
Molly's
start-
got the timer.
I'm almost,
Well, I'll be keeping
You're gonna have
time.
time?
Oh, you're
Yeah,
gonna keep time?
Yeah,
I
I'll
need
keep,
to.
yeah, we're gonna stick to the time, so to make sure that
Okay, we
everybody
appreciate
is
that.
fair.
The 5 of them, and certainly want to keep a
Yes.
level playing field.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'll start. The first one is BRPH. Okay, thank you.
It's up there.
oh, it's already there.
I know, huh?
I was looking for that.
Question.
I'm full of them.
Hey, good morning, welcome, welcome. We've got a podium available as well as a couple microphones here at the table in front of us. So I know there's more of you than there are microphones, so please feel free to change out as you need to. So that way we can get everybody captured on the record. We certainly have a lot of folks who view the meetings at home, so their benefit, we'd like to get everybody on microphone when possible. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning, and thank you for your time. My name is Francisco Alvarado. I'm Vice President and Principal at BRPH Architects and Engineers, and I have the honor today to bring you with my team to present to you on this exciting project for Lake County Schools. Today, we're going to go over our knowledge of the site and local conditions, the local area demographics, our overall approach and methodology, and our approach to cost control and value engineering. This project is really important, right? And our goal is to revitalize Beverly Shores campus to promote student success and showcase the hidden gems of this community. With me today, presenting along with me, will be your project manager, Mr. Bradley James, your design architect and program architect, Mr. Matthew Flores, your civil engineer, Ms. Jennifer Harvin, your MEP consultant lead, Ms. Leah Seisler, and part of our team is also Mr. John Halliburton with Bluecoat for cost estimating and life cycle cost analysis. To talk a little bit more about our familiarity with the site is Ms. Jennifer Harvin.
So BRPH has a longstanding history on the Beverly Shores campus. In 2004, we designed 3 of the 4 buildings that are going to remain on this campus: the cafetorium, the administration building, and the classroom building. We also designed and permitted the utility infrastructure associated with those buildings and the campus-wide stormwater management system. Our team will take the same approach that we took in 2004 from a site permitting perspective. We will permit through St. Johns River Water Management District, FDEP, and the city of Leesburg. Our team has expertise when it comes to SRF, but we also have the expertise when it comes to site permitting. We understand that it's critical to get permits on time to start construction on time, and our team has a proven success at understanding that process and successfully delivering those permits on time for the project. So our team has identified a handful of improvement needs that we would propose to address as part of this project. The first one has to do with overall campus security, improvement there. The next would be improvement of campus safety. So a couple examples of that are the retention pond at the back of the property and your primary playground areas are not currently fenced. So that would be something we want to look at those kinds of items. We'd also want to look at your parking. So we know that there are about 30 staff members right now who are having to park either off-site or having to park in unpaved areas on-site. So we know that that's definitely an item to address. Circulation and parent drop-off is another. So currently, because of the needs, parent drop-off is happening at 2 different locations on the campus. And collectively, you could only stack probably 35 cars at a time. And for a campus this size, that's a concern. The last one I'm going to talk about is fire protection. So your campus currently has buildings that don't have sprinkler systems, but you also don't have an on-site fire water loop with fire hydrants to service the buildings from the exterior. So that's something that our team would want to look at in addition to providing vehicular access for those emergency vehicles.
Yeah. So demographics, right? We can all look at the slide, look at the numbers, and kind of note that the student population here, where they come from. This is a very personal project for me. I am an immigrant. My parents immigrated here to give me an opportunity and my sisters to succeed. And they saw the value of succession going through education. I was a product of a Title I elementary school in Broward County. And I saw the conditions of the school that was. And it was for the grace of God that those teachers were able to kind of instill good values and good education foundation for me that allowed me to succeed throughout the rest of my life and through my career. Additionally, with our team, we have Matthew Flores, who is a former art teacher with OCPS at a Title I school. My sister is a principal at an OCPS K-8 school. Education is not only important to us because we're architects and want to design incredible 21st century learning environments, but it's important to us because it's part of our DNA. It's part of who we are. It's part of what we give back to the community. And this is why the demographics and these particular sets of kids, we need to give these kids all the opportunities to succeed. And the research has shown that if you take the care to invest in their education, in the facilities and where they are able to learn and grow, they will want to come back to school. And they will cherish the moments that they have in school. So the demographics prove that, and then with our help, we think we can make this school be a hallmark for success in the future. So talked about that. So how do we achieve that environment where every student can excel, right? Part of our approach that we'll dive into a little bit deeper is having a collaborative student engagement and achievement. And that happens from the beginning. We would like to get their voices. What is their experience at the school now? What are the areas that they want to see, right? The more we're able to engage not only the district staff, the school administration staff, but also the students, it allows us to really learn and really provide the facilities in order for them to help them succeed. We will build a strong partnership with the community organizations. We know this campus and a school like this in this type of community really revolves around, becomes a beacon for that community, right? And so we want to bring back the school to the beacon that it was when it was originally built. And then we want to display the flamingo spirit, right? And our Matthew Flores will kind of dive that into a little bit deeper later. But the flamingo spirit is one that is about joy. It brings everyone joy, and that's what we want to translate into our design with our students. So who's going to be the team to do that? Like I mentioned to you, I'll be the principal in charge for this project, so I'll be along the way from the very beginning all the way through the end when the school opens. I have the honor of leading this wonderful team. Like I mentioned, that is led by Bradley James. He'll be the main point of contact on the day-to-day issues, and he's leading an incredible group of architects and engineers. Like I mentioned, Matthew Flores is going to be the design architect and supporting us through the essential conception and stakeholder engagement meetings. He'll be supported by Corinna Heisman, and along with Mandy Wayman with Kaleidoscope, a woman-owned business, providing some interior design. Additional disciplines that we're bringing on board is we're also going to be performing not only the architecture, but civil engineering and structural engineering as part of the under the BRPH umbrella. We've partnered with an incredible partner in Matern that we've had many successful projects together over the last 20 years. If traffic studies are needed, we have LTG as a potential consultant, landscape architecture, bond and design group. Should acoustical needs be needed for the cafetorium, we have TLC available for us. And like I said, building systems will be Matern, and then food service will be LGM. So again, this is a proven team that's done probably over 100 projects across the districts in Central Florida. Now, that's the team. Now, what is this team able to accomplish? And this is just some of our past experience, right? We have experience with complicated renovations. We have experience of transforming campuses and revitalizing them to what their full potential can be. We have South Lake Elementary and Brevard. You can see a couple before and after slides over there of what they looked like before and how we transformed those spaces there. Washington Elementary is in Palm Beach County. That's a school that's actually very similar to this project. It was originally built in the 60s in a disadvantaged neighborhood, and we saw the transformation that a project like this can do to this neighborhood. So a little bit more on Washington Elementary as an example. Same, like I was mentioning, same school structure built in the 60s, was kind of running tight on space. It wasn't a well-performing school, right? There's a complicated project, complicated renovation. We added to the building and provided them incredible new spaces for the students to go. Part of quote here from Angel Garcia, our project manager with the Palm Beach County Schools, is we're bringing the school up to new standards, equivalent to that of new construction. The community and students deserve the latest and greatest that the district has to offer. And that's what we're committed to do here with Beverly Shores. This school, again, when this school opened, the joy in the students' face, coming and see their new school, they had pride in their school. They wanted to come back to school. They enjoyed their learning on there. Our post-occupancy studies have revealed that they feel more welcome. Attendance is lower. Attendance issues have been reduced at the school since the renovation had occurred. And that's the impact that we want to have on Beverly Shores. Now to talk a little bit more about our design process is Matthew Flores.
Thank you so much. So our design process is really about collaborating with our stakeholders. It's going to be a several-phase process, but it all begins with discovery. And our discovery sessions are design thinking sessions where we get all of that stakeholder information and we collaborate alongside them. And we wind up uncovering the obvious and the not so obvious needs and objectives of the project. Then we'll take that and work collaboratively within our own group, interpreting, evaluating, and experimenting with that data, and ultimately create a visioning session that synthesizes all of that stakeholder information along with our creative process into a compiled document for your review. But let's take a look at what that discovery process looks like. So our initial phase will include design thinking sessions where we work with your stakeholders and we look through the lens of 6 different education-specific design drivers, which are safety and security, technology, wellness and sustainability, flexibility and adaptability, teaching methods, so like what specifically, such as the art program, are you trying to accomplish at this campus, and finally the human experience, where we focus on the individual, the group, and the community at large. But we don't just take this evidence-based design approach to our projects. We weave something through all of this that is unique, that is creative, that is artistic, and we create a design story, a design narrative. And we look for opportunities. We look for hidden gems in the project that we can pull out and create this really beacon, as my colleague Francisco said, within the community. And we see a great opportunity already to build a story around flamingos. And we've already been doing our research on flamingos, and they are unique and fascinating to watch. They're very social creatures, and we've been doing a lot of work looking at them, but we want to create an opportunity, a new habitat for students that is similar to a habitat that flamingos live in. And we've done we took a little bit of a deeper dive looking into this and identified that there are 6 different types of flamingos that include pink, white, red, and orange. And they are identified by their voice, by their parents when they're young. And not only that, the parents, the mother and the father, both take a collaborative approach to building the nest for their egg. And so what we're thinking is that we can take these types of attributes and incorporate that into the design process, create a framework for parents or caretakers to be intimately involved with their students and their children. Second on the list, they are filter feeders. That means they turn their head upside down when they eat. And this means that your students can look at the world from a different perspective. They sleep on one leg, so they're balanced. We want to create a stable, balanced environment for these kids. And they're flexible. The word flamingo means fire, so we want them to have zest. And finally, they can fly. We want them to be able to feel like they can do things they never thought were possible. So what happens when we demo the old buildings off of the campus? We see this new organization start to happen. We see a ring of buildings, and we see an opportunity to complete that ring and ultimately create a campus that is built around a campus quad. This is one concept. We can develop several others, but this is an initial concept where we have buildings 1, 2, and 3 are existing. Building 4 is a brand new 2-story classroom building. Number 5, you have the campus quad in the center. We've included additional parking to address the needs that we mentioned earlier, extended drop-off canopy. And I'm not going to read all of these, but you can see that basically this brand new campus goes around this center courtyard concept. And you can see the zones that are created through the organization of this new campus. And these are some of the highlighted opportunities that we see, from shaded picnic to gardening, open field play, outdoor amphitheater so you can accommodate school-wide events, shaded learning pods, shaded entry and covered paths along the way. And we've basically replaced all of the existing program with 38 classrooms for now. We can identify and narrow down this scope later, but all of this is centralized around a center learning area that can be utilized for extended learning. And we have fenced-in area on the north and south side for the students as well. The second floor is designed in an efficient manner so that we can stack program, and there's a lot of efficiencies that we can gain through that type of organization. We'll go through an iterative process where we play with form. We continue what we've already started in terms of the experience for the students. And finally, we don't want to leave behind the existing buildings. We see opportunity to renovate the cafeteria, existing classroom and administration building, and of course the media center, which needs a good bit of attention. And with that said, I'll pass it on to Leah.
From an MEP perspective, we do want to do a new central energy plan for the new 2-story classroom building and also tie in the existing media center after the demolition. That's the last DX building, so to tie it into the central energy energy efficiency standpoint. We would also provide chill water to valve boxes outside of the cafeteria and admin classroom. We understand the RFP had in there to do renovations for mechanical, but we also understand that might be a budgeting concern. So we'll at least size the CEP for future growth and be able to tie those buildings in the future. And if, as we work through the budget, if we can afford to do it, we will do it and tie those buildings in.
We have 5 minutes.
We also want to do LED lighting and technology upgrades. campus-wide so that there's equity across the campus. We do have lead time problems still, so we will have to do an early equipment package from a scheduling standpoint. And also, just for a little knowledge on Matern's knowledge of this campus, we did do the consulting report in 2021, and we also have developed the new design guidelines, so we're very familiar with the district standards.
Okay, so we're looking at a construction schedule. Here's our schedule. We're looking at a construction schedule of 18 months. But just to back it up, if we start with the NTP in December and we go through our programming, schematic design, and so on, our goal would be at the end of design development, as Leah said, to do that optional procurement package for electrical and mechanical gear, so that by the time we finish construction documents in September, you would have had enough time to start procuring those equipment, so that January you'll be kicking off construction and you'll be ahead of the game right there. Oops. I think that's... Here is BRPH's QA/QC process. It's very in-depth, and we find it very successful. We start with design a checklist. We go with cross-discipline check. Then we have a discipline peer check. Then it goes to project manager, and if everything is good and all the checks work, I fill out the form, and then the documents go to the client. And this ensures that you get very tight documents that has been coordinated pretty well.
And our team understands, the needs and, to maintain budget for any public school project that we do. We address this during PV, as we spoke earlier about making sure that we design the project to meet the needs of the facility, and also minimize any circulations. That way you get the most, bang for your buck. This design team includes architects, engineers, general contractors, as long as several other, consultants to bring viewpoints from different, aspects and vantage points. We'll provide pricing throughout the process to make sure we are maintaining that budget throughout every design iteration. Blue Cord is a veteran-owned small business. We are a licensed architect, or general contractor that does work in the Southeast United States. That knowledge helps bring the cost trends, and we stay up to date on every process, knowing lead times, as Leah was talking about, as well as manpower concerns and cost overruns. We have an integrated process to maximize the budget. By doing that, we're going to sit there and monitor escalation, market conditions. We're going to review pricing alternates, just different ways that we can construct the building to make sure we maintain that budget for you. As long with, we'll work with the CM that will be part of this project to make sure we reconcile their budget to make sure that they stay on task to maintain that budget for you.
2 minutes. Perfect. So our team is ready to get started, right? As I mentioned, we have 45 days to get on the contract. We don't anticipate being an issue to get to that point, should we be successful in being selected by you all. So with that, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Bill, you want to kick us off?
Yeah. So you mentioned just a minute ago that you had a general contractor who's a minority business that's working part of your team.
Yes, Blue Cord. So I'm part of Blue Cord Design and Construction. We're a veteran-owned small business in Orlando, and we do work throughout the Southeast United States.
Would you also then be submitting a proposal to build the school?
No, sir. We strictly do VA work as our construction process, but we do consulting work for architects and engineers to assist them in their costs.
Yeah, we decided to bring in Blue Cord. We know that the budget and the way the period is now with all our clients, we highly recommend that we have, some outside cost control and cost evaluation done. They've been a great partner with us, been able to kind of bounce back and forth, especially early on in the design when we're working through different ideas after we gather all of the stakeholders' input. Those are when the difficult decisions need to be made, right? We have a budget to maintain, but there's many needs that need to be filled. So we will work together and bring in someone in like John and his team to kind of help us evaluate how does one particular decision
Let me help you.
impact budget.
It's very smart. So we can start. That's very smart. Is anybody here from Lake County? Anyone live here?
No, I think there's a group of us, mostly from Orange County. We do have some Lake County residents that are in our Orlando office, which we're very proud of, right? So, but yeah, all of us in this team are not Lake County residents.
That's all I got.
All right.
Good to know.
Evan?
I was just curious, and you kind of touched on this, but I know that presentation was fast. The existing buildings are brick, and then I know that the pictures of the Washington and some of the sample schools were tilt-up walls. Have you guys talked about any, like, how are you going to make that aesthetic? Are you going to use tilt-up walls? Are you going to continue with the brick structure? I know that there's cost savings and tilt-up. Like, what are you thinking in that
Yeah,
regard?
we've talked about that a little bit, and I think I've already thought of an opportunity there to possibly use form liners that can give a brick aesthetic.
Okay.
That would be really complementary, and then we can utilize, the same color scheme and really make it look like a unified campus.
Okay.
So tilt-up's actually a very economical way
Right.
to build these schools. And we had a school that's currently under construction right now for Volusia County, Tomoka Elementary School. It was a replacement project just like this, in a neighborhood where brick is the aesthetic. And we used exactly that method that Matthew is referring to. We had brick veneer liners cast into the tilt-up, and it looks wonderful right now.
How long ago was the project?
The project's under construction now. I just saw the mock-up about a month ago of where it was, because we wanted to make sure that it had the look that looked correct, right? And which it did, so it looks really good.
Do you know the longevity of it? Like, is there any concern about it being
No,
replaced?
because it's just like within Tilted, right? So it's just concrete, and so it is, no, they actually do have the liner in there. Yeah, it's very durable. A lot of other districts that have a brick aesthetic have used that method of construction as well.
Okay, I think this might be the first time we've kind of merged the two since we switched from brick to the tilt-up, so I was just curious.
We actually are doing it at the Hills.
We've seen it.
Not, we haven't seen it, but that's,
Yeah.
they brought samples of it, and that's, because they didn't want it to just look painted.
Yeah.
So, but I thought they were gonna just emboss. I don't think they're actually putting the veneer.
Yeah, I think there's a couple options where you can use a liner that embosses it, and then we can make that look convincing, or the veneers as well.
Or use the veneer.
We can evaluate both of those with John.
I'm interested to see
I think we're
it.
just doing emboss, though.
Okay. I'm interested to see it. Thank you.
Can you kind of briefly tell me structural changes, if any, to the administrative building? It's kind of tight in there.
So we walked through the existing, we designed those original spaces. During our walk, the principal noted that, dollars should be spent as much as we can into the education spaces, right? We would look at opportunities to update the finishes, give it a little bit lively if there's an opportunity, right? As we kind of work through the budgets to change some things there. If it's areas that are of concern that are tight, we will definitely be able to take a look at that. But our primary goal is to focus a lot of the design and the dollars to go back into the student spaces.
And you were the person who was responsible for that building, correct?
That is correct. Our firm was, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I will tell you that it's a very consumer-friendly building, having been the principal there.
Oh.
But I found it to be quite tight.
Yeah.
Well, I think there could be opportunity, as we build a new building on the north side of the campus, to relocate some of that program over there and then find opportunities within that administrative building.
Thank you.
All right. I think y'all have covered my questions.
You have one?
Yeah. we'll go
A
ahead.
similar line of questioning to Ms. Cunningham. I know we mentioned that we're doing a renovation on the media center. We've had a lot of challenges in that space. And I know the replacement of the HVAC will do a lot for it, but can you speak a little bit about what the overall thoughts are on the renovation of the media center?
Sure. So when we walked in, we noticed that there was, they're using several spaces there that probably weren't intended to be used as storage, but they're being used as storage right now. We also know that there's a potential of a roof leak and potential of some windows leaking as well. So we will first look at the building envelope, right, and make sure that the building envelope is tight to ensure that there's no water that infiltrates the building out there. And then from there, we do want to look at that space and look at the possibilities of reimagining that space and reconfiguring that space so that it's more friendly and inviting to the students that are there. A lot of what we saw there, whether it's through furniture or whether it's just through the design on there, we feel like can be improved right now. So that is an area of focus, because we all know in most campuses, right, the library is the heart of every campus, right? It's where the books are. It's where you're going to get young students at this age to be able to go in there and learn to, and learn to read and love to read at that point, right? So we want to make sure that that's a very inviting place for the students and the staff as well.
The administrator mentioned fine arts. Where does that What are you going to do about that?
Sure, so the Fine Arts is currently located in the existing west side of the campus, so, see if I can point on here. This building right here. It's kind of where it's located there now, and again, when we do our existing, we will evaluate that space. If they need to integrate or increase that space, we will look for opportunities to do that. If the opportunity exists that we can repurpose that space into the new classroom building, to give it more of a prominence, since there's a consideration for an increased fine arts program at the school, we can certainly do that. And again, a lot of our process really takes into that input that we get once we're able to start on a project, that visioning session, those visioning sessions, those visioning workshops, to be able to understand where are the elements of pride. As an example, we just, Gateway High School down in Osceola, they have an award-winning ROTC project, right? And that was a comprehensive project just like this. And so we took a lot of care to find the right space within the existing buildings that they had to be able to design a space that truly fit all their needs there, because it was a critical program for that particular school. And we would do the same for the programs here at Beverly Shores.
Last one for me. I apologize. I think it was in the information too. But what's the last school that you guys designed for Essen Lake?
So, good question. So we've done several. We had a continuing service contract with Lake County. So it was several smaller projects that we've had with you guys. I think the last one being around 2019 or 2020, I believe. And then this school was, I believe, the last major project that we had back in 2006.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Thanks so much for coming.
All right, we appreciate your presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're first. You're lucky. Sorry.
That's it, the standard.
Yeah, right? What a nice job.
All right, looks like the folks from Harvard Jolly will be coming in next.
Chairman? Yes. As a matter of procedure, as they whittled it down, did our evaluators have a chance to meet with these people, or was it done strictly based on something that was sent in?
So I believe they've already done these presentations for the committee for a group of.
They merely submitted a. So the short list was developed strictly from submittals? Gotcha.
Okay.
I just wanted to understand it. Thanks.
All right.
She's back.
All right.
So this is Harvard Jolly. I'll have 20 minutes. You guys want to do a quick introduction before I start the call?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Steve Johnson. Good morning, everyone. Steve Johnson with Principal
Come to the
Harvard Jolly.
microphone.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. My name is Steve Johnson, Harvard Jolly Architecture, PBK.
Chad Jones, Harvard Jolly, PBK. John O'Neill, Cleveland Weeks Civil Engineering.
Tom Vandekeef, Harvard Jolly, PBK Architects.
Leah Matern Zeisler, Matern Engineering.
So you all have 20 minutes for the presentation. We'll follow by 10 to 15-minute Q&A. I'll keep time. I'll let you know at the 5-minute mark, 2-minute mark. There you're out.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Members of the board, distinguished guests today, we appreciate the opportunity to further present our qualifications to be your architect on the new modernized Beverly Shores Elementary School. Be a privilege to be your partner on this project. We know how important it is to not only the school but the community in general, students, staff, and all the relationships with the community are important, and a facility that inspires each student and family member and staff every day is important. We recognize that. Modernization is important. right? But we get the driving force behind that. So we're looking forward to designing a new, a school that's going to last you 50, 60 years to influence multiple generations of students for years to come. Something unique about this property, I'm not sure if everybody in the room recognizes the history, right, the flight history, right, of the airfield on site, adjacent, water planes, et cetera. So we feel that there's kind of a metaphor right there for a young student learning and the trajectory and the fact that their educational career takes off right at Beverly Shores Elementary School is highly important. So we draw from that. That inspires our team as well. Oh, we're started. Okay. That went backwards. Sorry about that. So that's a pretty cool launching point for us. We're going to follow your scoring criteria today. We're going to switch up the order just a little bit, so we'll keep you on track as we go through. We're going to start with C, which is overall approach to the site, to the project. My name is, again, Steve Johnson. I'm a partner here. I'll serve as partner in charge.
And my name is Chad Jones. I'm the director of the Orlando office for Harvard Jolly PBK. I'll be the project director. I'll be your point of contact throughout the project.
Tom Vandekeef, I'll be your project architect and the CA throughout the project.
Okay. So to round out our team, all of the engineers are firms that you have worked with as a board on multiple projects in the past. Part of our group that we want to introduce to you today is Beam. It's a building envelope consultant that's within our company. So they're building envelope experts, and we see that as an added value to this project as well. Make sure I'm going in the right direction. Briefly, we're a proud firm we're in our 85th year of business here in the state of Florida, 7 offices throughout the state. We have learned a lot through modernization projects. We bring that added value to this project as well. Moving forward. Did I go the wrong way? Our process is proven but dynamic based on the needs of Beverly Shores Elementary. So we want to go through an initial sort of discovery and dream stage, right? We looked into the school improvement plan, the most recently published one, and there's a lot of talk from principal about talking about engagement with students, staff, and the community. And, the bricks and mortar, the background, the facility really needs to support that in every way possible. So it's access to after-hour spaces, whatever that might be. That's going to influence the design as we go through the design process. And once we get to that point, we want to emphasize the delivery of that through meeting time frames of deliverables. We're going to exceed your expectations at every step of the way. We understand if you kind of step back for a minute and look at the kindergartner starting this year, right, if you look at the traditional kind of retirement age in your 60s, the fact that these kids are projected to retire in 2082 is, a lifetime of learning from here to then, all the experiences that they're going to have. So this really sets the stage at Beverly Shores Elementary for that lifetime of learning that happens in a lot different ways now than the way that many of us learned in elementary school, right? I mean, we were oftentimes sitting in a classroom, right? Lecture style, that's a lot, this teaching style in the past. But the way we know today, the way that the students learn and the teachers teach is much more dynamic, much more participatory. The project-based learning is so important. And so as we go through our presentation, we're going to highlight features of design that can help support those different styles of teaching and learning. Furniture, knowing the size, right, the little feet and the footsteps that happens at an elementary level, particularly at the primary level, it's important to know distances between buildings and the furniture selections that go into the spaces that we have. We want to talk throughout the design process about, the adjacencies of classrooms, the access, again, for the restrooms and some of those in-between spaces that may support these various teaching and learning styles. Safety and security is top of mind for all of us, right? We need to approach it not only from the single point of entry on a campus, but the way students move in and out, and into even everyone in the school. We have a couple of examples here graphically showing the classrooms, the safe zones, passive observation, areas, everything from the physical layout of space to access control and everything that supports the teachers and the students. A lot of the way that we work in real time in 3 dimensions, right? So as we're designing on the fly, and so that helps facilitate conversations about spatial adjacencies. It's a dynamic design process that we use visualization and virtual reality really to take a look at these are 2 different spaces that are virtually the same, but through material selection can have a huge impact, and furniture selection have a huge impact. So from day one, after we understand your needs thoroughly, we'd be able to design in 3D and share those and really make decisions as a group. That's what we need to do, is pull out, all the best ideas from the entire design process to support your vision for the modernization of Beverly Shores. And so an example right here, this is the replacement of Gerald Adams Elementary down in Stock Island, just outside Key West. Some smart planning went into this. At every grade level, they have a pull-out or a collaborative space. How we designed it was we put 3 walls on it. It's on the exterior wall. But if they needed to capture it as a classroom in the future, they could add a 4th wall and versus bringing a portable on site. But they love the spaces they use, and we went in a year and 2 years later, found out that they use these spaces effectively. The history of Beverly Shores Elementary, right, is important, and this is an amazing point in the history of the school. And thinking about the future, we want to document that where appropriate. It could be simple graphics in the reception area. It could be a room that's dedicated to the history of the school that we can put on display.
Cost control and value design. We know the budget, $21.5 million. We know all the issues. We've been through this multiple times, obviously. Focusing on those last 2 issues, working closely with the CM and cost estimator. We know costs are rising. We know lead times on some critical pieces are important, and it's been taking a little longer to get some of those pieces. So working with the CM and our historic cost database of recently bid projects, we'll be able to help get that, keep the project on budget and on schedule.
One of the difficult things about comprehensive projects is that what to do with the existing facilities to remain. So what we've done in anticipation of that was we've done evaluation of the entire campus. On the left, you see a numerical representation of that, from 1 being failing, 5 being no scope required, and then on the right you see that from a graphic perspective, with red being failing and blue being no scope. So it's quite obvious about which buildings the state allows us to demolish in this case. And so we backed that up. We went through this exercise where, using these different categories, evaluating what the shape of the existing construction as it is, and using a detailed spreadsheet to give you a numerical value for that. So what is the importance of that? One, it gives us a priority list. So it tells us what we need to focus on. But number 2, from a parity perspective, we have some backup and ammunition about why certain decisions were made. In this particular site, you see lots of red. So what that tells you is that there's not a fire sprinkler system, and that is one of the priorities when we do the evaluation of the campus. As we move into the mechanical systems, again, the newer buildings have newer systems, so they're probably in better shape. But as we move towards the new campus, it ends up being where, in order to bring it up to Lake County standards, we would want to upgrade those as well. Where we have some room for some movement is in our interior finishes. Now, when we walk the school is in great shape for the age of the facility, but there might be things like, for example, VCT. That's a maintenance expense that the school principals take care of every year. By switching to LVT, which might have a little bit of a cost, that's something that we would eliminate. No need for waxing. So we have a great, based on our database throughout the state, we have a great handle on what the new construction costs. And so this exercise allows us to, again, prioritize the priorities and the must-haves, and then also set a value to the wants.
Site demographics, we know the area of Beverly Shores Elementary here. The kids will go to Fruitland Park for the year while it's renovated. Now, this area, actually, Leesburg has Harvard Jolly's got an intimate relationship with this Leesburg area here. Some of the first projects I worked on was Leesburg High School, historic campus there, as well as Carver Middle School a number of years ago. And Chad's one of his first projects was the Leesburg Library on the lower right side there.
Yeah, so Leesburg Library was actually my first project out of school as an intern with Harvard Jolly. So we know the area quite well. And so how does that translate to Beverly Shores? And one of the things that we took account of is how rapidly the education experience is changing there. I think Principal Christides has done a great job of improving the standards in the, I like her quote, our students deserve a quality education, and we're here to make that happen. I think that's something that we can help with in the renovation of the campus. Again, this is the existing context. So you see kind of what we have to work with. There's a lot of open area, and it's in pretty good shape, especially from the exterior with the buildings to remain. A very diverse population here, which is great. And part of that too is there's being a Title I school, there's an economic disadvantage here. But I think there's an opportunity here. We would love to. We know that they're moving to adjacent to Fruitland Park Elementary as a swing campus, but we think there's an opportunity to kind of bring them into the process and just, again, see architects and construction happening. When I was in elementary school in Brooksville, there was an elementary school that was being built right next to where we were, so you never know what that type of exposure could do for, for a student in the future.
We know the site, obviously, a good loop road around the site here. We know the potential construction area is going to be in the center of the site there. That's where your money is going to go. We also observe the car lines and everything, and there's really a controlled chaos out there, which is pretty carefully put together. We were impressed with the detail on some of those things that we saw around the site, and that's the type of detail we want to continue through as we potentially work with you on this project.
And one thing to note here from a site perspective, there's a forest main that's running through the site, and to save some costs on the project, we are going to avoid that in our building footprint, so that money can be reallocated to educational spaces. So how does that translate to the revolution of the campus? And like I said, this is kind of what the existing condition of the campus is. And if we use the money right, we can start to transform some of the spaces. So that money allocated to the media center could give us a look that modernizes it. We can reimagine the dining spaces. Right now, the admin is in pretty good shape, but it doesn't have a traditional single point of entry in the sense that we do currently. So that's something that we would need to address. And then finally, the bulk of this project is going to be the addition of classroom spaces, and this is where we can really start to put some effort into revolutionizing the campus. So we're going to present two schemes for you. This first scheme is primarily looking at just adding classroom spaces, right? So we're going to satisfy the need of providing a classroom, two-story classroom building. But this is going to allocate, it's going to help allocate the money to the other parts for the renovation piece. Again, in this scheme, we try to incorporate with what's working well. So we have extended the parent drop-off to the north, and just enhance parts of the campus that we believe. 5 minutes, okay. And then also creating a courtyard atmosphere. So this is something that we've seen as being very successful for these types of open campuses, where you have a secure perimeter, and the buildings form a perimeter, and then in between you can have lots of activity. And then with the new building, we can start to add collaboration spaces and start to activate some of the spaces that are not currently in the campus today. Again, we are proposing a two-story building, and we know that the existing context is a residential, but the way that the building is positioned is in the middle of the site, so the scale of the building is kind of hidden from the context of the surrounding community.
So again, through the design process, we want to illustrate, what this new two-story building could be, right? So we bring this up live, and it really facilitates a conversation right there on the spot to look at scale, to look at materiality, and what the impact of this new building is going to be on site. Here's another view, kind of backed up a little bit, south-facing, north-facing in this view.
So Beverly Shores has been around for 60 years, and we believe with this renovation, we can extend that timeline another 60 years. So we want to do something that is, the second scheme is something that really transforms the campus and the image of the campus. So if you notice where the existing admin is currently, in this scheme, we've changed that to classrooms. And so what we've done here is we've moved the administration to the new building, the new two-story building, and we've created a new front to the campus. So the issues with not having a Sally port would now be eliminated. Now we have a single point of entry, and we create a new front to the campus. We've extended the parent drop-off. We've made the queuing line longer. We've addressed the faculty and visitor parking. No longer a need for having the overflow parking, and again, maintaining that central courtyard that you see there. And again, this is, we could really emphasize the single point of entry, which is, not current in the scheme as you see it. Again, although it's a two-story building, again, it would be, the scale of the building is massaged by the adjacent existing buildings to remain, and again, creating that new front.
So this would be a view from the north with that new front that Chad described, and it really, again, this is about options. We're architects being architects, right? And we just wanted to kind of show some creativity here, but really it was a process, right? And the vision that the school has, the vision that the design team ultimately has, is going to show up in the architecture. Some exciting spaces that can happen in between the existing buildings and the new, right? The Principal Crucides spoke about the program Performing Arts. Maybe there's a kind of space in there that can support that specifically, but really it's a blank canvas for that secured courtyard area that can accommodate a lot of the outdoor learning that a lot of schools are embracing or want to embrace in the future. So these are some of the views, and how we incorporate the trike track, or how the K2 playground is separated out, but providing that close access to the classroom building typically is pretty important. So, but these are all variables, and these again are illustrated in 3D. I think pictures worth 1,000 words. So typically these facilitate great conversations about how we manage your dollars and your budget based on the priorities of the project overall. So here would be another view. And again, it's, we just had some fun with this. Architecturally, it could end up really any style. We want to blend in. One thing we know about this proposed two-story building is it's in the middle of the campus that we're showing it, so it's not at the edge, so you're not going to overwhelm, the residential neighborhood. So we want to think about things like that. And really, in closing, we are here to support the vision of the school and the vision of the district, to see your vision through, your mission through. We don't currently have work with you right now. We're eager to prove ourselves. Our team, this is your team. This is the team that will be working with you day to day. We're here from start to finish, and we're committed. This is a priority project to our firm. Beverly Shores Elementary, the replacement. We love these types of transformational projects. Beverly Shores and the community is going to be transformed for the next 60 years. So with that, we'll open up for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who wants to kick us off? You're good?
Good for now.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
On your second rendition that you showed us with the administrative building being moved from the front and having classrooms there, do you foresee any offices for administration in that building?
So
that causes me a concern.
So we're talking about.
You said there would be a building in the front that would have
Scheme
classroom.
two.
Yes, the
All right,
second one.
so let me go to the.
It could have decentralized admin. We do that in a lot of schools. We did plan it, or we actually execute it where we have your centralized admin, and then you have, if you want to have another office out remotely, we've done that in a lot of different ways.
So currently, right now, the way that the campus is laid out, you have your administration in the building of 14, and then the campus is spread out. So what any of the schemes do by doing a new two-story building, you centralize, all of the classroom spaces. So the administration is not as remote as it, would, as it is currently. But in this scheme in particular, instead of so what we would do with the existing admin is we would, add as many classrooms as we could probably fit there. There might be some offices remaining, but then it also centralizes the admin in more of a area that is accessible for all the buildings. If that answers your question.
Yes, the bus drop-off would still be in the front.
Yes, ma'am.
There would be classrooms, and then admin would be behind that building that housed those classrooms. Am I understanding that correctly?
So let me see if I could point it to you.
Where the arrow is, yes.
Yeah, I see the building. I just want to, I'm concerned about supervision.
Right.
Is there any place where someone might have their office so that they could, supervise? Beverly Shores also has a lot of ESE population that ride to school on a bus. So they got to get off the bus and get to wherever they're housed.
Right. So again, what it does is it creates two accesses to the campus. So this is your existing campus. Everything about that, the bus drop off, getting off the bus will remain the same.
Okay.
Again, there's room for offices there as well. So what it does is just enhances what it currently has. By flipping kind of the ceremonial access to the campus. What it does is that there's attention paid to the parent drop-off, and it it separates the traffic, and then also centralizes it as well.
We had another similar campus to this where instead of the admin being here, we had it over on this end of the building. So you had some principals prefer eyes out, some prefer eyes in, or the SRO or whoever's office. But all of that is flexible in terms of where you want that emphasis for admin.
Okay.
And then in scheme two, scheme one. Again, this maintains what's currently out there. Again, we're making the parent drop-off more streamlined by adding just one area as opposed to having multiple areas throughout the campus. So it takes that concept and makes it a little bit further for a ceremonial entrance.
Thank you.
On that one, with either one of these schemes, what would you envision could go in those white future boxes? Would that be space for portables? Would that be buildings potentially in the future? Just trying to get the spatial layout.
So it's a combination. So visually what you see right here, the box on the left would be for future portables. And that would be in the event of you need the additional space and you need to build a new classroom building at the exact same time. So showing the two shows where portables can be, and then also where you can also simultaneously do a construction of a classroom addition.
Okay. Just trying to figure out the logistics of potentially having portables that close to drop off or on that part of campus. I know the site is tight to be able to fit all this in there.
Right.
Okay.
And I saw in the pictures, there was what appeared to be like a wooden front, there was some brick. I'm assuming, I read somewhere, the slides went fast, I know the presentation is limited, but it had said matching cast thin brick. So it's tilt-up walls, and you're going to match the design to make it aesthetic.
Again, that's part of the process. So we could go with what is traditional now is a site cast concrete with the brick cast into it. That's going to save you a little bit more upfront. But then you might say that, hey, we love the traditional look of the CMU and the brick cavity wall. And so we would provide, that's why we showed the two options. If that was the route, then we would have to take a little bit out of the classroom to get the look. So we wanted to show you kind of the dichotomy of both of them.
Any others? No. All right. Appreciate your presentation very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Here, can we take like a 5-minute break?
5 minutes?
3 minutes?
3 minutes?
Yeah, whatever you'll allow.
I'll split the difference. How about a 4-minute break? Can we do that, please?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much.
I was gonna ask. I didn't know.
For that much-needed break, and we have a few more firms to present.
Yes.
Tell us what we got.
So let's do a quick introduction and then I'll start the timer for your presentation. Yeah. Yes, just speak into the microphone.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Byron Lestraps. I am with Rhodes and Brito Architects. I'm a principal, and I will be a project manager and also point of contact on these projects. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ruffin Rhodes. I'm the Rhodes of the Rhodes and Brito, and I will be basically in charge of making contract negotiations and making sure that they have all the resources they need to make this a successful project.
Good morning. My name is Angela Tiburcio. I am a project architect for Rhodes and Brito Architects, and that'll be my role for this project.
Hi, my name is Kelly Griffith. I'm going to be the lead senior interior designer on this project.
Good morning. I'm Chris Kowalski, and I'll be your senior architectural designer.
Leah Matern-Zeisler, we're the MEP engineer.
She's the wild card, so.
We get her regardless, right?
She's hedging her bets.
All right, very good.
Anyway, so you have 20 minutes. I'll give you a warning at 5-minute mark and then the 2-minute warning. All right? Ready? Go.
Thank you. Well, good morning again, Lake County Schools. My name is Ruffin. As I
The
mentioned
microphone.
before.
Microphone.
I'm sorry. We are excited to be presenting to you on Beverly Shores Elementary School renovation and addition. We've looked at your agenda, and we've structured our discussion based on that agenda. You've probably seen this a few times already, and you'll probably see it a couple more times before it's over with. Before we get started, I'd like to do some quick introductions because put some names to the faces. So we've already done that. You've met who these people are, who all of the staff, architectural team members are. But I would like to say that what the points that we really like to hone in on is that we have extensive K-12 experience. We do lots of renovations. We've done millions of dollars of renovation and addition projects. We recently just completed a $50 million middle school performing arts design project in downtown Orlando. Very complex and historic building. This team has done that, and they're ready. They need some more work, and I'm trying to keep them busy. So we have our team of consultants, engineering consultants, and one of them includes Matern and Lee. They're excellent consultants. We have worked with them on previous jobs. They are also, some of them do have experience in Lake County, but here we want to make a commitment to you that we want to utilize local vendors, and we've identified some services that can possibly help in, and that is maybe perhaps community outreach and liaison, reprographics or printing, geotechnical and survey, and existing building documentation. So you have our commitment that we tend to try to incorporate Lake County vendors as a part of our whole process, and as we do this. So a little background on Rhodes and Brito. Max Brito and I formed the company 28 years ago. Byron joined us shortly thereafter, and we started with 3, and we're about 50 employees right now. So we've grown significantly. We're proud to be included with this group that you're interviewing today. We've earned that credibility and reputation. I think that's well-deserved. We started out doing renovations. That's how we could only get work doing K-12. 70% of our workload, even revenue, outside of schools is renovation and additions. So we know how to do them. This guy right here, Byron, he's one of the best architects. I'm not going to say it too much because I want his head to get too big, but he's one of the best architects when it comes to renovation and addition. And so don't let the gray hair fool you. He's got years of experience. And anyway, so with that, Byron's going to talk to you a little about a project that parallels this. So, Byron?
Yeah. Well, good morning again. What we want to do is share with you some of our experience. And as Ruffin said, this is a project in Gainesville I want to show you that we recently completed, and it was opened last August and beginning of school. Similar to the project at Beverly Shores, we had old buildings. A lot of the blue buildings were old buildings built in the 1960s and also portables. And a lot of this was because they needed permanent student spaces. The other thing was they had no organization in this campus. So what we did is we came about and created a plan. We built new classroom buildings, cafeteria, but also everything was built around a centralized courtyard. And now wayfinding and people walking to this campus is totally transformed. And this is what we try to do in our goals. You know, we try to take and improve a project. You know, when they built buildings back then or added onto campuses, they just stuck it in the green field. All right, they didn't think about circulation. So these are the things we're trying to bring back. And here's some imagery in front of our cafeteria and bus drop-off area, and also some of the classrooms that we did. So it was a very successful project.
So you're interviewing 5 firms today. I know all these firms. Some of them are my friends, so I would love more than to beat some of my friends and win this project for you, for us. But one of the most important things or skill an architect needs for this project's success is the skill to listen. This is why we've when I received this compliment from one of our last clients about we're excellent at listening to the needs of stakeholders and owners. It's one of the highest compliments we can get, because that's really what starts the ball rolling, and it's having good listening skills. So that's what we do best. Here's a list of some things that we know that we carefully do to pay careful attention to how we can make this project be a success. However, the biggest thing is listening to you, the community, and the principal in terms of what they want. And so that's how we've been successful on that. So Byron, go ahead and talk about that.
Thank you. Yes. Well, you've asked us to talk about the knowledge of the site. And if you can see our school, it's located there, and you can see the major roadways that serve and get us to and from the school campus. One of the things looking at the existing site, we know it's about 15 acres. We have about 450 permanent student stations and 16 existing portables, all right? So one of the things that we've talked about is the parking is undersized. You're also utilizing now off-site parking. Also, the queuing has been an issue, and you have 2 queuing lines now. So those are the things that we're going to look into. In terms of permitting and utilities, stormwater, St. John Water Management is covering the stormwater. And we feel the infrastructure there is adequate. However, it will be modified when we start constructing new buildings. So our purpose is to reuse these. Also, you have fire hydrants, fire mains, all of these things would be beneficial because we'll probably sprinkle our new building, and that would be very beneficial. In terms of permitting, there's courtesy reviews to the city, but mainly the school board is what controls a lot of our building permitting. Okay.
All right, so we're going to study the demographics of Beverly Shores Elementary School. As you see here in the aerial, the school is located on this aerial in red. This is located in the city of Leesburg, northwest section. It's in School District 2. Right now, we've sort of summarized that it's about 660 current enrollment, maybe plus or minus. And there's 5 ESE classrooms, and we need to consider about those classrooms as we do some planning. We've looked at the surrounding development, and this is really critical for us to think about how this planning process will occur. Along the US 27 and 441 is a commercial corridor, and then the surrounding areas are full of residential developments. We've even taken a step forward and looked at some of the neighborhoods there. We've listed as many of the neighborhoods as we can. There's several 55-plus communities around. And so, but this is what we call a neighborhood school or a community school. And so, and one of the things we're hoping, and it's part of your success, is that you have a lot of volunteerism and inclusion in that, and especially with the 55-plus group. Took a snapshot of the demographics of the community and school data. We've recently completed 2 schools with these same demographics. And so, and as Byron said, there's nothing more pleasing when you finish a job and have the kids come in and see something new. They want to know that people care. And so we love doing these types of projects and the renovation, and we think that this new work can be a big improvement. Congratulations on the B+, that's awesome. You guys are, we saw the previous score, and this is reason to celebrate. We see schools as a center of community, and what that means, they're a community asset. And so it's not just about student learning, it's multi-generational asset that people can come and utilize, mentorships, apprenticeship, after-school support, continuing education, shared public access. When people know that this facility is a community asset, then they all get behind any reason, development and caring for what this makes to make it successful. Community engagement is what we have a passion about. And of course, we will work with the school district in terms of setting that up and how you want to proceed. But we love engaging with the community and getting their feedback and the school and administration. So this is just an idea. So, Byron?
All right. Now we want to get to the fun part of the presentation. One is the overall approach and methodology. And one of the things that is Ruffin talks about listening, but our process, one of the first things to do is to talk with you and work with you, the stakeholders. Whether it's the staff, the school, the board, and the facilities, and everybody work together and come together to have a single vision towards this project. Other things include, like Ruffin said, community engagement. What are the important things about the community? What are the needs to help keep and ensure buy-in into this project, and you get the momentum that you need. Also, the design, to come up with a responsible design, and also, can we afford it, or what can we afford? So those are the things that we want to consider at the beginning of the project. Again, this is our existing site. I've talked to you about this site. But one of the things we also look at is, what are the liabilities and assets of our campus? We noticed that there's an issue with the traffic flow here. So that's one of the things we want to work out. Right now, you have two different queuing lines. Let's address that. Staff parking. You also have buildings beyond their life cycle. And also, a lot of your students are housed in portables. Well, part of this whole process for us is to reduce and to eliminate this and create new state-of-the-art buildings. Also now, once we look and remove these liabilities, we have our clear palette in which we can start painting our new vision. And if you look at some of the assets that we have, you have a slope site. That should aid us in stormwater management, and also you have the 2004 buildings. These have great bones. So that could be a very cost savings to how far we're going to go into renovate these buildings. So maybe some of the stuff we could refurbish and maintain. And finally, this is something that we deal with all the time. We're saving a lot of money by having an unoccupied campus, okay? There's no phasing, there's no portables you got to bring in, and also you can probably get this construction done anywhere between 10 and 12 months. So that will help, reducing the construction schedule will help save you a lot of money. And then moving on and talking about design considerations. Building placement, how do we place it? Campus flow, integration into school programs, that's an important one. We're not going to just drop a building here and say these are the spaces. We're going to look at the whole campus as a whole and see how can we ensure and even improve the function of the building right now. Those are very important things. And also we talked about campus security. So looking at a closer, coming closer into the site, here's some ideas that we will look into. Obviously, there's a courtyard. That can be a secured courtyard. That courtyard could accommodate a lot of things, whether it's outdoor learning. It could have the playground, whether it's for the tots and for the youth playgrounds, outdoor dining, educational opportunities to happen in there. Also, we're looking at building a new classroom building of about 50,000 square feet. Expand our CEP and improve the queuing scenario to help traffic around the site. Also, look at the existing functions that you have and how they're arranged in this campus. So we could work at rearranging a few spaces, and that's something that we will look into. So Angie, why don't you talk about some of our planning ideas?
Thank you, Byron. So we've created two site concepts that really start to solve some of those liability issues that Byron mentioned earlier. Now, we took the liberty of doing this, but honestly, what's missing is your input from this. So once we get started on work, all this goes away, and we start with your vision. Now, this new building was placed really in the most optimal location for a new building, and that is what starts to create that secure courtyard. As Byron mentioned earlier, there is opportunities for outdoor learning, for placing the school, the playground spaces there, and for outdoor dining. Now, one thing that we did look at is expanding that parent queuing, and this allows us to combine both parent queuing lines and extend it to 124 on-site or 94 car queuing. That's going to help reduce any backup that happens into the surrounding community. We've also added space for staff parking, and that's really the expanded to 124 on-site parking spaces. Now, here's what the look at our proposed security fencing. So we've created a fencing around the entire perimeter of the campus the way it essentially is now, but we've also created a second level of fencing as well to protect the students during the school day. Now, this is site concept B. Again, that new building is in the most optimal location for placing this new building, and again, it creates a secure courtyard. One thing we really like about this is that all the buildings are looking into that space, so you do have some of that passive surveillance into the courtyard. In here, both the youth and toddler are in there, and as well as an art patio, two outdoor learning spaces, and a outdoor dining. We've also included an area for future portables in case this school becomes so popular that we need more of the students want to go to the school. So another thing that we did is we did go ahead and include, we extended the parent queuing again. This one's combining the bus drop-off and the existing parent queuing to increase queuing capacity, and then we've moved over the bus drop-off over to Building 16, which is the dining room for any staging that may happen. Again, this is the site security. Now, we did take the liberty of taking that last building concept and creating a rendering for it, just so you can see what your building may look like, what the campus may look like at the end of construction. So here's a view from between those two, building 14 and 15, looking towards the new building and that outdoor courtyard. Here's a look at the front. Here's another look at it. And then here's one of those outdoor learning spaces that we created in here. Now, very quickly, I want to touch on creating learning communities using 21st century educational design. This layout is essentially a community of I believe it's 9 classrooms, where you could essentially have an entire grade level in here. But our main focus really is that collaboration area in blue. And this allows for everyone to use this space. We've used modular furniture to provide all sorts of modalities for teachers. It also allows for teachers to participate in co-teaching, co-planning for a grade level.
All right, thank you, Angie. Thank you. Well, I'm going to talk really quick with you about our cost control and value engineering. As you know, I mean, you don't need to see this. You can just go to Publix, right? I mean, how much is stuff cost today? So this is something that everybody is dealing with this today. But one of the things we like to do is talk about costs and how we work with costs. We have a cost estimator on board, and we're going to work with that person throughout the whole design process and design phase. We don't wait till the end of the project or the end of the phase to realize, oh, wow, we're $2 or $3 million over budget. We like to work as we proceed and progress with the design in that phase. We will address budget. Now, you also talked about value engineering, and these are some lessons that we've learned recently. Tilt wall construction is one way to save money. Hard bid has been situations, I don't know if you're going to hard bid or have a CM, but those type of deliveries and construction could save you a lot of money. The other thing that we've looked at is maintaining versus replacing existing building systems. Do we need to replace every cabinet, every door, even the HVAC systems? These are things that Leah is going to work with us on. So those things may just need maintenance, refurbishment, and it may save us a lot of money. Also, with you, prioritize scope, all right? We're not going to sit here all the time and say, well, we can do this, we can give you the world. No, I think there's a limit, and we're going to have to prioritize what we're going to need to do this project if we're going to meet our budget.
2 minutes.
Okay, and also secure long lead items. That's something that may or may not affect your budget, but it's going to affect your schedule. So those are the things that we're dealt with. In In terms of project schedule, we came up with a project schedule. This is something I think that is very doable, and we could make this happen. And one of the things of keeping our schedule is getting the civil involved after design development to start procuring site utility and stormwater permitting. Those things usually take us a long time. At Rosen Brito, all of our jobs we do, sustainability is an important factor, along with working with our engineering. We can provide a lot of design tools, equipment, fixtures, furnishings that would help us save money and have more of an efficient building. And now I'm going to leave it to Ruffin.
All right, thank you, Byron. So these are 5 reasons why we think you should consider us for this job. Probably the biggest one is number 2. We're available, and we're ready to start now. We purposely specialize and look for the right type of job. This job matches 2 previous elementary schools we did renovations and additions to. So you won't see us pursue a lot of RFQs because we're very selective, and so this falls right within our experience. And so along with these other facts, I'd just like to say that give us a consideration. We'd love to work on this project with you. With that, I'll open it up for any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, no questions?
No, well, I do have one. I saw, you didn't really talk about it, but I saw something about ESC cluster sites. What do you mean by that? Are you saying that you would put all the ESC classrooms in a similar area, or?
Well, there's two philosophies. Okay. And again, we didn't listen to you yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I like that.
There's 2 philosophies. Some groups believe in taking ESE and blending it all out, because whether it's a stigma or whatever, or you tend to want to bring it all together. Now, when you bring it together, I think it's more of occupational and other type of things. But if this is for learning and or part-time, then you probably want to integrate it in. But we're just throwing options at you. We don't have to do that, but if that's something that, as we get to know how the school operates, those are things we would definitely consider,
It was fast, I did see that, I saw that image, but I appreciate your response to that.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. All right, appreciate your time.
She wins no matter what.
Leah's not going yet, she'll be better.
She wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when I first started looking at proposals, I could see the same faces all over the proposal. What's going on?
Yeah.
Great. You still got a plan?
I'll be there. Who? Isn't that a little bit messy? Yeah, a little bit. Oh, she does. Is she coming back?
Yes.
Yeah, she'll be in the last 2.
She's on all of them.
She's on all of them.
Goodness.
She didn't have to.
Man, I hope you pick one of these
Yeah,
5.
right.
Yeah.
Good morning. Hello, welcome.
For the team, and then
Okay,
you
great.
guys have 20 minutes for presentation. After that, I'll keep the time and let you know at 5 minutes and 2 minutes.
Can we have access to the whole front of the room? Is that
You
okay
can,
if we-
but when you do the talking should be into the microphone.
Perfect. Oh, got it, to the microphone.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, we have a
I know.
number of folks who watch these meetings not in the room, and so for the sake of their audio, keeping close proximity to a microphone would be really helpful.
I'm sure they'll do it.
Patrick Rao, Project Manager, Schinkel and Schultz.
Into the microphones, please.
Patrick Rao, Project Manager, Schinkel Schultz Architecture.
Hello, everybody. Louis Bedoya, BVM, Structural Engineers.
Leah Matern-Zeisler, Matern Engineering, MEP Engineers.
Charlie Musica, Design Support, Schinkel Schultz.
Michelle Chandler with Schinkel Schultz Architecture.
Joe Toth, Project Manager with Schinkel Schultz.
Jim Richards.
Richards, PES Design Group Food Service Consultant.
John O'Neill, Cleveland Weeks, Civil Engineering.
He's back.
All right, and you have your 20 minutes starting now.
Thank you. So, good morning, everyone. We are really excited to be here today to talk to you about what we think is a particularly exciting project here at Beverly Shores Elementary School. So we're going to get right into it. If you can, the next slide. So you've asked us to talk about 4 specific topics. You'll see them denoted by the pink slides throughout the presentation. But we thought it was most relevant to begin with a little bit of a background and our understanding of some of the unique elements of this campus. So we'll get right into it. It really started with a deep dive into the mission and vision statement for the school, and we were particularly inspired by this idea of positioning Beverly Shores as a model school, one that really helps to prepare their students for the years to come. And we used that concept as sort of the framework for the overall presentation and design concepts that we're going to show you today. So what does it mean to be a model school, specifically here at Beverly Shores Elementary? And we really felt it came down to these 4 big ideas. So we'll start at the top. The idea of community is certainly very important at a school like this that has been in existence for decades. So the way that we engage the greater community here and get their buy-in is going to be instrumental on a project like this. Secondly, we think given the fact that this is a transformation of an existing campus, we have an opportunity to really cultivate a sense of pride, both for the students and staff, as well as for the greater community. Finally, we need to acknowledge the fact that this is a unique environment for pre-K through 5th grade, and the needs of those students are very distinct. And so the way that we design a physical environment really needs to respond to those foundational skills that you're learning at the elementary school level. And then finally, we would be remiss if we did not acknowledge that as architects, it's really our responsibility to be good stewards of your taxpayer money. And so coming to the table with really cost-effective design solutions will be paramount. So as I mentioned before, we did a lot of research on the existing school to really find out what was so unique and special about Beverly Shores. And a few things came to the forefront. There are certainly some really exciting programs here that happen that we want to continue to foster. There's a lot of donation drives that happen here, and so keeping that in mind as we develop design solutions is important. We also know there's some really robust programming, especially around the arts. So things like the steel drum class that happens and finding ways to celebrate those programs. And then we also noticed as we walked around the campus that there's some physical infrastructure elements that we want to also celebrate. So things like the super graphics that you all have painted on the exterior walls, and even the memorial bench. If there's ways that we can preserve those elements and continue the Beverly Shores tradition, even with this new elevated campus, then we would like to do so. So, as I mentioned before, it's really important to recognize that we're designing unique spaces for 4-year-old to 11-year-old students. And so it's really important that you hire a design firm that understands the nuances of elementary school design. So I'll introduce our team members. We've all introduced ourselves, actually, but you can see there the expertise that each of us brings. And I want to just draw attention to the fact that Patrick Rao and Charlie Musica, who you see in the center of the screen, are working with Lake County Schools on the Fruitland Park project. So we think there's some key learnings as it pertains to your elementary school design standards that we would apply to this project. And then you also see Joe Toth denoted on the far right of the screen. Joe is responsible for the custodial analysis at the campus, so he has a really strong understanding of the existing facilities. We're also supported by a team of sub-consultants that we've worked with across the state of Florida, so this is a really seasoned expert team of individuals. So I mentioned K-12 design. We have a great deal of experience across the state of Florida, including work that was recently completed just to the north of us at the Villages. That's the Charter Elementary and Middle School. But more relevant to this project is the elementary school experience that we bring to the table. And then along with that is a deep history of designing 21st century design spaces across all grade levels, but particularly at the elementary school level. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the fact that this is a campus transformation job. So our approach to this is going to be very different from a new greenfield site. And so finding ways to really celebrate and elevate the existing spaces will be critical. So this is an elementary school that we designed up in Seminole County Schools, and you can just see through the use of super graphics, bright colors, flexible furniture, how much more inviting that media center space is after the transformation. And then finally, I've mentioned this a few times already, but we do bring a significant track record working here in Lake County Schools. And as I mentioned, we are working with you currently on the Fruitland Park Elementary School, and so there's some key learnings that we have developed through that process that will also apply to the Beverly Shores project.
One of the really key elements that Michelle mentioned at the beginning about creating a model school was about this creating a foundation for a lifelong learner. And so we want to take a minute to talk about some of those skills and how you create a school that really accommodates creating a foundation. When you look at K through 12 education, there's obviously a stepping or a range from elementary school all the way to high school. Each of those grades really have drastically different skills that they're learning along the way. But what's important to think about is that this first stage at the elementary school is literally the foundation years. You're building the skills that are really important to kind of carry them through to middle and high school. So we like to talk about those skills and really what they are and how to kind of develop a learning environment around those skills. There are things like rote learning, memorization, social skills, very important, listening skills obviously, but what's I think more important is how you anchor all of that in creativity and imagination. The idea is that you want to create spaces that students are really excited to come to in the morning and really get invigorated and really want to be in these spaces to learn and to take on these skills. So what we try and do is focus on from a school standpoint of what are the areas that can make the most impact on those skills areas. And so there are things like the media center that promotes creativity, that really transforms that space, classrooms that are really incorporating new learning methodologies and pedagogy in that space. Healthy learning environments, health and wellness is incredibly important. So how we approach outdoor learning, color psychology, all these things are really important for health and wellness. And then also there's community spaces. So all of the kind of one-off areas that really support elementary school, things like food pantries and all the kind of one-off support areas that we know are really important. Those are some of the areas that we think have the biggest impact for these foundational skills. So we're going to talk through some of the examples and really what that means.
So the media center, this is a space that has been rapidly changing the past couple of years. You still need spaces for books and reading because actually holding a book helps develop fine motor skills. But in addition to that, you want spaces for small and large groups. And a really cool thing that we've been implementing into our media centers is a maker space, which is a collaborative workspace for exploratory learning. Another trend is communal spaces, but communal spaces focusing on support. So not just ESC and therapy rooms, but food pantries, which is actually being implemented at Fruitland Park, as well as community resource rooms, which can be stocked with supplies for students in the community. Classrooms incorporating new learning. So this is a transition from a typical classroom to a space that focuses on the non-traditional subjects like robotics and coding, and it's basically just a flexible space for flexible learning.
So health and wellness, like I mentioned, is very important. So we look at, from the inside standpoint, look at biophilia, natural daylight, those views to the outdoors. There's been a lot of studies that shown that the more students and people are exposed to that connection to outdoors, the better they perform, whether it's work or school. Also, color psychology does have an impact on how students retain information, the environment that they're in, how they feel. And then, of course, outdoor learning. I mean, this is one thing we noticed during the walkthrough is that there is a great opportunity to have, I think, outdoor learning environments for the students at the school. And it's really a way of getting students kind of excited about environmental, sustainability, and kind of all these 21st century ideas that we'll talk about as well. Safety and security is incredibly important, obviously. So some of the things that we do, we incorporate a secure lobby design. Again, that's one of the things we did on Fruitland Park. And one thing we noticed here at Beverly Shores is that there isn't really a secured receptionist kind of gateway for that school. So creating a secure lobby design will be a big priority. We also think that minimizing circulation is important. So how you be strategic with how students kind of get between classes is important. And then also being strategic with windows and glazing. The image on the bottom middle there is actually a school we did where at the front of the school where the cafeteria multipurpose was, we put all the windows up higher, so you raise the sill heights, so someone can just kind of walk up to the school and look into the spaces. So those are some of the key things we do from a safety security standpoint to help address those concerns. Also regarding safety security, one of the things that we had learned working with the school on Fruitland Park actually was for the intermediate students, you want to avoid having to send them out in the hallway to use the restroom. So that was one thing on older school designs you might see where a student has to literally go down the hallway, go to a group restroom, and then come back. So we've actually incorporated this new design for Lake County where you have a shared vestibule in between and you have a boys and a girls restroom. And that means that a student does not have to leave that classroom to use a restroom in that space. The other added benefit to this was we created hard corners along with the architecture. So now you have a safe zone in case there is an active shooter or an event on the campus where you can literally just change the flooring material finish and designate where that safe zone is in those classrooms. So it has the extra benefit of doing that as well. The next item on here is cost control and value engineering. And so we figured we start with a breakdown of where the construction budget is as of today. We know the construction budget is $21.5 million. We think the biggest component of that will be the classroom addition, which based off of the size of student stations, we think is going to be approximately $9.7 million just for the new two-story classroom building. We also know that renovating the media center is an important part of the scope of work here. So conservatively, we think we can do that for probably $1.8 million construction budget for the media center. That leaves you a remaining balance of a little over $11.5 million. So the idea with that is we would address all of the other scope items, whether it's creating a new secure administration, like we talked about for secure check-in, expanding the admin area, also looking at the cafeteria, the kitchen, making it more efficient kitchen space, looking at PE spaces and other site improvements are all the important things that we'll make sure we incorporate within that $11 million. The important thing is knowing that we have that left over, we really need to be budget conscious and be as cost effective as we can to maximize as much as we can do for the extra scope. So some of the things that we incorporate to really maximize the cost is look at the building exterior. We've certainly done a lot of brick and block schools in Lake County schools. That's actually Sorrento Elementary School on the left-hand side. But a lot of times we're incorporating a thin brick inlay into concrete panels. So the photo in the middle there is the school we did that is a tilt wall construction, but it has concrete or a brick thin that's cast into the concrete. So you get the same look as brick, but it's going to be much more cost effective. And then we have plenty of experience doing tilt wall design as well, where you can use things like foam liner panels, paint, to help give some accent and texture to the material. But those are all things that we could look at as a cost-saving approach to the project. We also think that, again, it's important to maximize the value for the project. And so one of the opportunities I think works really well here is how do you create a sense of pride within an existing school? And a lot of the ways you do that are things with graphics, whether it's vinyl applied graphics, signage, canopies. In this case, this is a school we did in Seminole County where we actually added a new canopy along the front of the school, and it had an extra sense of arrival, some nice colors, some sense of pride, but it was a component that did not add a lot of money to the project. It's not air-conditioned building square footage, it's extra spaces that are really a good opportunity to save some money and maximize the value for the project.
So you also asked us to talk about knowledge of site and existing conditions. Having had the opportunity to do the Gastaldi report for the school district, not only did we investigate the buildings that were to be torn down, but we also got an idea of how the site feels and what the issues are. Aaliyah with Matern helped me a great deal in putting that together. So from a site analysis standpoint, these are all the existing underground infrastructures that you see there. But probably the most important thing that we gained by coming out and doing the Gastaldi is that the site drops quite a bit from the southern end, which is the front, all the way down to the northern end. And while the ditch back there is great for the alligator, it's not really doing much for draining your campus. So one of the most important things that we can do is investigate and create retention for this property to eliminate all of those water condition problems. The other things that we kind of took a look at, your lack of parking. We want to make sure that we create a design that increases the parking for all of the staff that you have on board. The other thing is the cafeteria, dining area, the restrooms are not designed for the students. There's only one toilet for each gender. We need to increase those. You also have a number of places that you're trying to supervise regarding parent drop-off and bus drop-off. You can see those there in the blue. And I can't read all the way across the room for the rest. We want, as we said before, we want to make sure that we don't destroy anything that was created by alumni or by the students regarding the memorial tree or the bench. And then, as Patrick's mentioned a few times, making the admin secure and the site supervised.
So we also know that community is going to be very important. It's an existing school that has a history in this area, so how we engage the community will be an important part of the design. We have a lot of experience engaging stakeholders, whether it's with facilities, talk about building systems, but also engaging the actual neighborhood, the area as well. So the image in the bottom here is actually a photo we took. We did called a walkabout community presentation. We invited the neighborhood to a school that was being replaced to get direct feedback from the community.
5 minutes.
And thank you. And also kind of get the direct feedback about the overall design. So engaging the community and the facilities is an important part of this project. So now we're going to talk about the exciting part, the overall approach and methodology here at Beverly Shores. And like Michelle said at the beginning, the whole objective is to really elevate this to a model school. So we're going to talk about some of the ideas that we're going to do that. Before we get into the design, I want to touch on our process a little bit. And we know that one of the first step that's very critical is establishing the vision. So sitting down with you all and figure out what are the goals and objectives, what does this school want to be, and where is it going, what's the vision. Again, we mentioned the community, engaging the community is important, and then the next three there are really more technical aspects about incorporating infrastructure, doing due diligence to make sure that it's a cost-effective and a successful design. But the part that I want to focus on is that first step, establishing the vision. And our approach to establishing the vision here is to cultivate a sense of pride for the students, the staff, and the community. So we'll talk about how we're going to do that now. Again, this is the existing site aerial that you can see. Everything in gold or yellow is going to remain, obviously. Everything else is being replaced. And Joe already talked about kind of the challenges on the site, the issues that we're going to address. So this is going to be the new concept that we're proposing. We're going to propose a new two-story classroom addition just north of the existing one. We're also obviously doing a renovation to the media center and proposing a new small PE addition to have some offices and bathrooms in that area. We're also going to upgrade the storm retention by adding and expanding the pond to the north. And then we're going to rework the traffic flow and add additional parking to accommodate all the challenges for that. Safety and security is incredibly important, so the big idea here is to create a safe and secure courtyard design. As opposed to having everything sort of scattered and dispersed, you have one central courtyard area. You've got obviously building one in front, you have two buildings on each side, and then one building behind. So it's a very secure design, fencing at all the ponds, supervision for the PE and play fields. Now you have one office where they can see all of the play fields, whether it's covered play, outdoor areas is really important. And like Joe mentioned, we're going to have a single secure point of entry for the security as well.
Separate the gator from the student.
Right, there you go.
Normally, we separate the contractor from the students.
Yeah.
We know that the children won't be there during construction, so we're switching that to separating the gator.
And we know that stacking is an issue on site and traffic flow, so what we're proposing to do is actually to flip, and instead of having the bus drop off right at the front of the school where the administration is, we're going to propose putting that on the left-hand side on the west. So you have one bus drop off on the left-hand side, still maintain where the cars are coming in off of Norman Avenue, but now we're going to drastically expand all of the stacking on site, expand the parking, so you have 145 staff parking spaces, and the big takeaway is you've increased a 260% increase in total car stacking all on site. So that's one of the things that we knew was very important for this project. From a design concept standpoint, this is the existing, how it is right now. As you can see, everything is very dispersed. And this same shot shows it as when it's going to all be completed. The idea is that you have a very secure courtyard design, and because this is elementary school and because of the flamingos, we're actually creating this flamingo courtyard design right in the center of the space. So it's actually a pattern of flamingo. You can walk down the sidewalk, you have outdoor learning areas, and it's a really invigorating, exciting space for these students to be.
So this should be a little familiar to you. This is the current media center at Beverly Shores. Basically, the space isn't being utilized to its full potential. So with a little TLC, we can give you a fun, functioning area that touches on all the points that I mentioned earlier about media centers.
And then earlier I mentioned the idea of creating cost-effective ways of adding value to the project. So just like we have done with other projects, we look at doing an addition with canopy along the front of the school to really give it a sense of pride, a sense of arrival in a very cost-effective way by giving it some signage and some banners and graphics right at the front of the school as well.
So hopefully what you've seen here today is a genuine level of excitement from all of us over. So sorry, I'm so excited. Hopefully you've seen a genuine level of excitement from all of us over the scope of this project. I have to tell you that these types of campus transformation projects are really important to us because you have an invested community already, and we have the chance to work with you all to really elevate the experience for everybody. And it is one of our favorite types of projects to do. So we are thrilled to be able to talk with you today about this opportunity. And with that, happy to answer any questions you might have.
33 seconds to spare.
All right, board, any questions?
Since you're already working with us on Fruitland Park, how engaged have y'all been with some of the cost overruns and those kind of things?
Very engaged. So we've had, at every phase of Fruitland Park, we'd have an estimate, and then we'll work with the construction managers to do a VE process of scaling it back. So right now on Fruitland Park, we're very engaged. We came to the table with certain ideas to scale things back. We looked at primarily things that wouldn't affect the education for the student, so for the spaces inside the building. A good example is the media center roof. We looked at kind of scaling back a portion of that because it was an element that you wouldn't really see inside the space. It was nice to have a very big gable in some areas on the front, but we knew that we could take that back, save a considerable amount of money, and still give the same value back to the school. So the focus was doing value engineering that will provide value to the project that won't take any program or any benefits to the education away from the kids. So we've been very engaged with proposing ideas about like that, for example. Yep.
Are we back on budget?
We're working on it.
That's it.
Right.
Oh, good.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fantastic job.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
By the way, appreciate you brought your food service consultant.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, very good. Yeah, enough. I guess by my calculations, we have one more presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, good morning. Welcome.
I recognize him
Yes,
too.
wherever you choose to be, we prefer it to be a spot with a microphone whenever you're speaking. So we have a lot of folks who watch these meetings outside of the room, and it'd be great to be able to pick up the audio for them.
Climb up and turn.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just texted her, I said, these are awful ending.
Thank you.
Is this the same thing?
All right, so we have Zizkovich, this is the last one. We're going to do a quick introduction, and then I'll start the clock after that. 20 minutes
confusing.
for your presentation. I'll let you know at the 5-minute mark, at the 2-minute mark. You're out. Go ahead, start the introduction. On the podium, please. Okay. Thank you. It doesn't
Is
take
the
your
timer
time.
on now?
No.
No, okay.
I'll keep time.
Good question.
Good morning, I'm Jose Merguido, President of Siskovich Architects. I'm delighted to be here.
Next. Team?
Go ahead,
So you don't waste time.
Harry
As a podium. Okay. Podium. I don't know if they work.
Usually I don't need a microphone, but Harry Simple, Senior Project Manager with Siskovich Architects.
Renee Alvarez with Siskovich as well, Senior Planner and Designer.
John O'Neill, Civil Engineering, Klima Weeks.
Leah Matern Zeisler, Matern Engineering, MEP Engineer.
Ed Napier, Siskovich Architects.
I think there's a pretty good shot that Lena's going to be on the project. This is an observation.
I like how she's left and come back in.
Very respectful.
All right, 20 minutes starts right now.
Okay, good, thank you. Hello? You know, I prefer to walk around. Is that okay with you guys? Yes. All right. So, as I said, I'm Jose Merguido. I'm president of Siskovich Architects. And I could not wait to get here today because I think this is going to be a super exciting project, and I'll tell you why. I am a planner. Does this work?
Yes.
Okay.
Down.
Down?
No.
Okay. Arrow down?
There it is.
Okay, there we go. I'm an architect, but I'm also an educational planner. And I think that's going to be very important on this project because it has a lot to do with curriculum and pedagogy, and I'm going to be talking about that. I'm also a product of public education, and I was one of those little brown kids that are in this school, and it made a big difference in my life. So that's why I've chosen to build schools. This is my 41st year designing schools, so I love it. It's a passion. And this particular school is going to be a transformation. It's a school that had it has a past, it has a legacy, and we're going to address that. So it is basically transforming a new type of, or creating a new type of school for the children that are there. I'm going to follow your scoring criteria. And the first is we're going to talk a little bit about the site and the things you could see. And I'm going to turn it over to Renee, who will tell us a little bit about the site. And it's this little button down here.
Yeah, sure. I'll do it from here. Of course, this is where everything starts. The students start here. There's a great team of instructors, teachers, staff members working at the school. Children come here, they get inspired. This is where they start learning how to learn, learning how to study, and move on to, of course, Carver Middle or Oak Middle, and then forward to Leesburg High. This is where each and every student will be equipped and prepared for the next level of education. So it starts here. What they see here, what they experience here, is they take it all the way through. Everybody remembers their elementary school, and you start remembering and taking that with you as you move forward. The school itself, and I'm sure you've kind of heard a lot of this this morning, we're within a single-family residential area mostly. We do have, of course, 441 along the edge with the commercial facilities there, and of course we have several, if not 5 or 4, different religious institutions near the school itself. In terms of how the students arrive, a lot of them do arrive by foot. There's about 100 students that arrive by foot. We have, of course, parent and bus loops. The parent loop right now is coming all around North Shore and looping around there. Some of the children are dropped off on the left side of the school as well, while the front of the school, of course, is where the bus loop is right now. That's where the flag is. That's the traditional entry to the school itself. The campus itself, of course, we understand the 1960 buildings are being removed. We do have a slope from south to north in there, but the buildings that are remaining, building 8, 14, 15, and 16, they, of course, are going to be addressed in terms of comprehensive renovation there. The media center is a little undersized. We need about another 1,000 square feet, really, and doesn't mean we're going to do all that, but that's what we found. We found also cafeterias about 3,000 square feet under what it should be for the capacity that we're trying to achieve, but we'll be working on those. Again, here you can see the parent drop, the visitor drop, the visitor area, and also the service drive. So the front of the school in the center still remains like that, but we do have a lift, a force main crossing between the buildings, something that we might try to avoid because that incur a lot of cost to move around and change that position.
Thanks, Renee. So all things you could see, and you've probably heard quite a bit about them this morning. But the other thing is the local area demographics. And that is something that's particularly interesting. Of course, the teachers that are there, these are also things you could see. And then there's a lot of ESC kids in the school, which is an important component because of obviously the challenges, the learning issues that go along with that special population. There are a lot of demographic information that the school has been lagging. It's been a school that's been struggling, and for a lot of good reasons. There's economic reasons, social reasons, number of issues that have created a little bit of friction, if you will, for advancement. And these are all important issues because they deal with curriculum, they deal with pedagogy, and they deal with how you design spaces, or what I'm going to say, you designed the verbs, not the nouns. Classrooms are nouns. You designed the verbs, the activities of which shape instruction. And that's what we're going to be talking about, is creating those verbs. So as I looked through them, the thing that was most troubling was what was not measured, but what was felt, which is what's in the community and what you see in the newspaper. You see a place that has perpetually failing Leesburg School. that's damaging for a child to have that stigma. The press with the grades and the focus on that. So it creates this kind of intangible problem of that this project actually could be the catalyst to turn it all around, and that's what I'm going to suggest this morning. So now there's been some great teachers that have come in and tried to help, but this little girl, actually, when I saw the news article, that was the one that kind of touched me, because she's looking down, and she felt like she was going to a place that perhaps wasn't quite what it could be, and this is why this project is so important, because I think once and for all, it's going to be able to have a corrective shift for this community and these students and future generations of students. So that's how we built our approach. Our approach was driven by trying to deal with the unseen and create an environment for them to thrive. And it's all about this transformation. So the way that we work is collaboratively. Well, we've had the pleasure of working with you on your K-8s. You have phenomenal staff, phenomenal people. So we work with you and create a solution. So what I'm going to share with you is obviously without that, so it has that blind side. But I'm going to share it with you so you can see what we bring to the table. And what we bring this isn't a guinea pig. This is something that we've done before. This is Hamilton, which is an underperforming school in Seminole County, and it was transformed, absolutely transformed into a high-performing school with the introduction of many things we're going to be chatting about. And it's a 21st century school, and there's three important things that we bring to the table. Educational programming, we bring campus master planning, and then 21st century education. And we convert that into curriculum opportunities and pedagogical opportunities. Same is true for Galaxy. This is what these children were dealing with, and we converted that into a 21st century exemplary school that the Department of Education for the U.S. government came down to acknowledge it. And right here, the same three principles. And it was this Heights, same exact thing, locally in this area, transformational school. So what happens? How does that occur? When we take the program and we look at all those little red buildings and we put the things that are missing, the number of classrooms that are missing and the number of skills that are missing, you come up with a program. And that program is basically in the scope of work. You're also going to remodel. But there's also this issue that I mentioned to you before. And then the Florida Department of Education has strategies to deal with this and inform it. And those are the things that are not in those custodial reports and things. Those things such as quality instruction that's already happening. But think of how do you create a positive culture in the school culture? How do you create curriculum enhancements, student support? I'm going to share with you how you deal with those intangibles through the creation of these activities, these verbs. And with that, we create a program that manifests itself into space, and then with that, you create the actual building. This is the exact process we did with you when we worked with you with Four Corners, or now Keys Point Academy. It turned out to be a very successful school. And then we translate it into space. So it's not just simply going looking at space, trying to identify those intangibles. So here's the thinking. When we looked at the scheme, we took those spaces and we did a test run of master plans. We had basically 3 across the top. One was a courtyard approach. Another was a finger school approach, basically taking the classrooms and putting it into pieces and creating 3 courtyards. Another one was taking the entire addition and creating a single building in the middle. And then the last one, we're going to call it a strategic approach. And I'm going to simply select that one. We usually select this with you to share with you the process that we would undergo. Now, when we looked at the program that was resulting, something interesting happened. The program that is of the missing buildings, the ones you're going to replace, is actually the first and second floor of Keys Point Academy. It's the same number of classrooms, the same 21st century learning, the same resource room. So it was something that basically gave us a running start on how to basically take something that already has your educational thinking, your curriculum in the 21st century in there, and then simply augment the things that are missing. to address the special needs of this community. So what we did is we took that piece and adapted it as a T-shaped building, and to plug into what Renee was talking about, integrating in the community traffic pattern, but enhancing the parking and enhancing the queue, and orienting the building to be optimum from a solar perspective. But then we get into the building, and there's a couple of things that are prerequisite. Safety and student security. So one of the things that, before I get there, this was something when we walked the site that I was amazed by, the big free room. You got that big space between the two buildings. All the walls are built, the roof's built, but it's underutilized space. One of the things in the state recommendation is creating a positive school culture. That could be, and I'm going to share with you how we plan to do that, the place where comes the cultural hub, a place where the community comes, a place that creates basically an activity magnet for students to do a type of learning, the verbs I was just talking about. I'll share that with you in a moment. And the way we would do it is we would take the addition, we would bring the 28 classroom addition here, and there'd basically be these learning stairs that open up into basically this energy hub, this learning hub right in the core of the building, create a heart up there. So when students get in, they have a wow experience, something that is very, very special to lift the spirit as well as the grades. So when we looked at that opportunity and then dealt with the other issue, which is safety and security, the school is porous. It basically has a number of doors that open to the outside. So what we do is hermetically seal that and provide basically internal circulation. We'd secure the entrance and have a welcome center, but all those doors that go to the outside would be sealed. And you would circulate from the inside the school. Students are safe, easily supervised, not prone to any kind of incident that from someone from the outside. So creating a safe environment is first and foremost. Secondly, is creating the safe environment to learn in. And we call these nests. These are learning nests where we have four learning nests in the schools. Why are nests important? Because the students have all this coaching, all this work that needs to happen. So the one-on-one relationship with their coaches is essential, and that nest provides the safe environment for that to take place in. When we take that, incidentally, that's what we also have in the K-8s. It's working very, very well. And then we superimpose the plans on them. What the plan has are the classrooms that are there, but also has teacher collaboration areas, another key step in creating best practices to lift the whole school. So providing the teacher-faculty areas, which are actually missing from your administration area square footage. So that's how we're able to make that happen. And then you provide the breakout spaces for the nests as well as 21st century classrooms as you have in the K-8s that we're doing for you. Most important is encourage the parents to participate in their children's environment and learning. So you create a welcome center. A welcome center, we do the entrance and create the welcome center in that area so parents feel like they belong. They're part of the mission of improving the students' performance. Now, that's a few of the things within the program, but what I'm suggesting now is basically some signature programs to really give the school a whole different trajectory. One is that center in the space, that center space can be, we're proposing, to be a wonderment center. A wonderment center that will have learning taking place, not simply an idle space. So it's an active beehive of activity within the supervision of the administration area. Thank you. The Discovery Lab, the Media Center we position as a Discovery Lab, and then the cafeteria, really more from a wellness perspective, not just eating, but also healthy behaviors and recreation. There's also some enrichment programs that we think are already there. For example, these two classrooms that are here, they could open up into this area with some sliding doors like we have in the K-8 Keys Point Academy, and that will then provide the activity here for a maker lab. As well as a Da Vinci lab, which is basically your science lab. Your skills lab could be repositioned in that area, and thereby you create basically excitement and learning going on right in the heart of the school. It could open both inside and outside of that Wonderment Center. The Arts Center, we would reposition it, but also take advantage of outdoor learning now that that's become the primary circulation. And the missing skills lab in the Media Center, which is undersized, we're proposing it to make a simulation lab to enhance the student experience beyond the neighborhood. These labs are basically simple technology we could introduce the students to a lot of different experiences. And then finally, the school has a great arts program. We would put the new music lab behind the current stage, open the back of the stage so they could feed into the music program, and you got a black box. So now you have an area where you could have performances as well as music. So we're looking at how to transform the school that way the second floor would work very much like the first, the same type of enhancements. And then when we look at the school, it feels different. Students come here and it's been branded. Why is it branded? Because you want students to come. You have a demand function. When we opened Keys Point, that was the first environmental STEM school, and that created demand for it. And that's what we're proposing here. This could be an E3, evolutionary, entrepreneurial, and experimental. Why? Because it's about growth thinking. The students can become what they want. And the new facade provides that. The spaces on the outdoor for wellness, and that gives you kind of a flavor. So they sense that it's a different time. It's Beverly Shores 2.0. And then how do we make it happen? Well, we all know we're working in extremely escalated times, but the key is programming at the front end. That's where you have the maximum value, where you can make the biggest difference by right-sizing the building. And that's where I mentioned we work with you and your staff to right-size it, adjust based on pricing. We're building 6 K-8s as we speak. 2 minutes? Thank you. As we speak, so we have a lot of great data on what things are costing, and we combine that with the curriculum objectives and capacities, and then we right-size the building that way. And that means that you may find that the classrooms would be a little different, so you could have those little learning labs in the center. So we work with you on that. Here's an example. The same K-8 in 2 different communities, one in OCPS, one in Osceola, 112 square feet per student station, 95 square feet, same curriculum, same building. But it's basically a matter of efficiency through right-sizing. And there's also a $6 million difference. We also use very commercially available systems. This is why we're experiencing very cost-competitive schools. We know that we have to break packages out and beat the escalation, so we are doing that for you to fight the cost. And then during construction, it doesn't stop there. You have to be able to respond quickly to our partners in construction so they don't experience delays in costs. So we have the tools to achieve that with our technology. And then finally, once we get it built, like we did at Keys Point, we go back into the building and do the best lessons learned and put that in the next generation of schools that we do for you. So this is the process that we do to ensure that not only do we design it right, but it also performs right. We did a test run. Here's what we think the new construction might cost in this project based on the bids that we've received. We think it's going to come somewhere around $14.5 to $16 million, the new construction. Your budget's $21.5 for the whole project. So that means that has to fit in your furniture, your equipment, and everything else in there. So it's tight. We could do the time, and that's basically it. I have the capacity to do the project. Thank you.
Yeah, did I understand that you're taking the core of Lake Point Academy, and that's where the new 2-story is?
It's the 2-story piece right next to the core.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's actually.
So there's some economy of scale, you've already got it designed.
Yes,
Can we hold the microphone, please?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So there's economy of scale from your side and.
Yes, there's an expansion joint there that basically allows, we call it a zipper, allows that to be a module. That's why that building could expand. And along that zipper, you just take that two-story piece and that becomes your addition.
I had a question about that timeline. You flew by that slide, of course, so with your shortage of time there at the end, but I think it said completion by July of 2023?
No.
Is that?
25.
July 26, 2023, is that what, wait, hold on, oh no, the slide you were just on.
I'm sorry? The one? 25?
It'll be open for 25, 26 school year.
Yeah, that's per the RFP. Now, one of the things that can happen if our,
No, I'm saying all the other ones are July.
25?
oh, typo.
Okay.
Sorry, sorry, yeah, I didn't see it.
So you're saying it would be ready by July 25?
Yes,
For the
yes,
25-26
yes,
school year?
yes. And I think,
No.
26.
That's what he just said, he made a typo, so it's 26.
Yeah, Kelly, I think you've got the answer on this.
I'll come up to the microphone. So when the RFP was published, it was before we knew that Fruitland Park was going to be delayed.
Okay.
So they're kind of right. They're also, since that, we've communicated that it's open in 2026.
All right, and how many months would that be?
for construction, 14.
14, okay.
Now, we have, if we can use, if that is an acceptable approach, obviously then there's an acceleration there. And the design process is accelerated, but not at the cost of dealing with the underlying issue that plagues the performance issues in the school, right? So that's one of the things that, I think that's not built into the addition. What we have to do is then figure out how to do that remodeling piece to really complete the project and totally reposition the school. I think it'll be a fabulous school. I'm absolutely confident.
This is more just a comment than anything else, and I certainly appreciate the approach you're taking and understand the facilities matter. There's been a lot of focus on like the corrective shift and the community around it, and that's certainly a part of this equation. But I don't think the school completely does that at the end of the day. I think what Ms. Christidis and her team do at that school every day, along with the facilities, they're going to make that get where it can be. But it just felt like to me there was a big focus on how poor the school was doing at this point, and that the facilities are going to magically change that. And while I think that's a big part of it, that's not the end of it, in my opinion.
I agree.
The facilities are going to matter, but that doesn't mean anything if we don't have the teachers and staff in there that we do.
Right.
So I just want to make that point. That's not a detriment on what you guys are doing, but that's just how I felt about it. It's in my district, so I just want to make that.
No, congrats, that's a great challenge, for that project. And what I think the facilities do is provide the context for verbs to take place, which is basically what the people do. A building is just an empty shell. But once you put people in it, and people then are informed by what the building suggests. Winston Churchill's great statement, man shapes his building, thereby he's shaped by the building afterwards. That's very much true in education. So the way that we separate our students, the way that we congregate, that has a lot to do with the culture and chemistry you have in a school. So that's why I'm suggesting.
Agreed. No, it's certainly a big factor, but I just want to lay that out there too.
I totally applaud that. Don't misunderstand. You don't build it pretty and then all of a sudden they learn. Yeah, I get it.
Stephanie, I think it was one of your questions early on about that blending of the different styles there that really gets me wondering here, because I mean the Lake Point Academy, if we're zippering off a piece of that and putting it here, does that blend well with the brick that we already have going on, or how do you architecturally?
Oh, architecturally, that's the least of our challenges. I mean, it's just paint and the interior is just what's going to be seamless. So those kids are going. That's why I'm proposing that learning stair. So it's just one flowing space. So the children that come into the entrance will feel like that addition was born with the original building, and once you start circulating through the inside of your existing wing at Building 14, it'll feel like the Keys Academy because you're in an internal space.
Keys Academy, is that Lake Point?
Yeah.
You keep calling it Keys Academy. Is that the same as we call it?
Peace Point, I think was
Keys Point, yeah, my apologies.
Lake
yeah.
Point.
It's Lake Point. For me, it was always four corners for 4 years.
Yes.
Four corners, four corners, four corners.
Yes.
I have a question about your learning stairs. It's just a staircase, right, that students are going to sit on?
It's a learning, the reason called learning stair, it's more like bleachers.
Okay.
And there's stairs built into it, but more like bleachers.
Okay.
You know, people just hang
Well,
out
my
there.
concern is from a supervisory safety point. The students that are at the very top level stairs, how does the adult move around on those stairs to have access to all the kids?
Yeah, well, so a couple of ways. One, there is a faculty resource room right there, right where they come up, because the whole idea is that if you want to say, let's say in that space, have your fourth grade class, they would sit, all the fourth grade class, all 4 or 5 that we have in there, that would be 100 kids that would go in that stair, and you would have a presentation in your Wonderment Center. And that you can't do in the school. You know, you have to wait for somebody to get out of the cafeteria, or if, let's say, you want to have a faculty meeting, and you want to have all 200 people, or you want to have a community meeting, and you want to talk about diabetes in the community or something. Now you have a place, and it's free because it's there.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I was the principal there for several years, so I'm familiar. But my concern is, when you get all those kids seated on the stairs,
Yeah.
and the adults, how do you propose they move among the students for proper supervision? Are there going to be steps?
Yes.
Or will they use the same steps that the students use?
No. No,
So there'll be
there's
steps on the
yeah.
side?
There's steps on the side.
As well, and
Yeah.
then the landings where the children are sitting
Okay.
are deeper. So
Okay.
you can actually travel laterally.
Gotcha.
Hey, come here, Junior.
Okay.
You know, you can get to
So
that.
they can move around among
You
the
know, when you go to the
students?
football game,
Right.
there's always the stairs in the middle, and then people sit on both sides. Same idea.
Okay.
But if, you know, if you don't think it worked, it's just an idea.
No,
It's
I was
a-
just curious as to how that would provide access to adults.
They can reach
Okay.
them all.
All right. Any other questions? All right, we appreciate your presentation very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you again.
So are we going to have discussion for a few minutes, or?
Yes.
I'd like to hear from Dave Parker and Kelly maybe for just a second. I've got a couple questions for them.
I had a couple questions for them also.
Huh?
I had some questions for them also.
So can they come up?
Looks like they are very excitedly moving down. I guess maybe you're just hoping you have all the answers.
Have a seat.
Y'all both see.
I don't want to get too comfortable.
You don't want to stay?
No, we value your expertise, no doubt, so thank you.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 organizations that are already doing work for the district, and I'd like to hear from y'all your experiences with both.
I mean, I think honestly, any of these firms are capable of doing the work. I can't say that we've had issues with either firm.
I would agree.
Working on.
They've both been responsive and have tried to keep us on track with the budget. I'm mainly concerned with their engagement, particularly on Fruitland Park. I'm sensitive to that one.
Yeah.
How engaged in helping us find a solution.
I think Schenkel has been very engaged in coming back and working on value engineering and trying to ensure that, you know, we're falling within the budget. I mean, it's a tough environment right now for that, but they have been
we have a
very active.
Very tough budget to start with.
And so both firms, you would rate them the same as far as responsiveness?
Yeah, I think they've done well, both of them, with where we're at and where we're going.
And Superintendent, they work with you on these learning pod things and the nest and all that business. Has that worked out?
I had the same question, like in regards to some of the, and do you mind if I capitalize on
Please.
that? I wrote the same question down because, and my visits to Lake Point Academy have been far fewer than yours, I'm certain, but when I have been there, I haven't seen much engagement in those spaces, and almost every presentation we've seen has included these spaces, and so are we using these spaces like that, or do we need more classroom spaces? So I had the same question.
I actually was recently at Lake Point, and we were talking about that. Where they have found that to be of value is when they're doing like a co-teaching model because of, maybe there's a teacher out, so you have teachers that are, maybe a teacher who's taking 2 classrooms and with the support of a TA or something, they've been able to really utilize those spaces. To say that they've been effective on a day-to-day basis in terms of utilization, probably not. They're beautiful spaces, and I think they've been great for small groups, interventions, but there may be a way to better utilize those spaces. I think those schools will tell you that more classroom space or more space for itinerants and other things might be more of value than how they're currently being used. So.
But they had those collaboration spaces also, right?
I'm sorry?
They had those collaboration spaces, is that used?
That's what we're referring to, yes.
Oh, you're saying that also is not important?
Yeah.
So maybe we don't need as many, or right, or?
I would say not as many. They have been able to utilize them at Aurelia Cole. I know that one of the things he was doing with the space was creating some small library spaces outside the classrooms where they were able to pull books based on the reading levels of students. He found that to be a value. So probably not as many spaces, not as big of spaces potentially needed. More smaller intervention spaces might be the way to go.
When it comes to the culture and our commitment to Beverly Shores, Mrs. Cunningham, who struck a chord with you? Because you actually lived it.
I did. I think one of the firms I previously built a school with, and I found them to be very receptive to the needs of the school and the principal and listening. I think those learning spaces that we have at Arcade are very pretty. I think they can be utilized. I'm not sure they mesh, and I certainly would defer to Mrs. Christides, but I'm not sure they mesh real well with the population and the needs and the culture of that particular site at Beverly Shores. That concerns me.
Since you deferred.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
I was hoping we'd get to hear that.
Please come forward.
I agree 100%.
You need to come to the.
I agree 100%. My focus would be more classrooms, more rooms for itinerant, more intervention space. Beautiful, but I think we've lost the spirit of Beverly Shores, and I want to make sure that that is maintained. And thank you so much for speaking up, because you know, my leg was just a shaking. Everybody teased me about my leg. I just really, I want to maintain the spirit of what we are as a community school. And while they're beautiful schools on the south end, that loses my school and the heart of what Beverly Shores stands for.
What were some of the details or some of the components of some of the projects that you thought really stood out to you, that really struck that chord of, wow, I really hope I end up with that in my final design?
The firm, and it's slipping my mind because, it's a little nerve-wracking being up here, but the firm that worked on the Fruitland Park, I think that they have an idea of where we're going. There were 2 firms that stood out, not the last one, but the one prior to that. Yes, I think that they maintained what we had talked about when walking around, because they specifically asked questions and wanted to know, about the school. And that's really important,
One of the nightmares is parking. I like the idea of I always personally felt that the bus loop would have been better served on the other side of the building, not in the front. And one of the firms did present that as a possible alternative. I think that speaks well to a lot of your headaches in getting those kids from where they arrive, the point of arrival, to where they need to be. There were just several things that I thought really reached out and spoke of what I believe your culture to be.
There was one, and I think that's the same one, where they put the pre-K and the ESC students in the front of the building.
Yes.
That makes me a little nervous, because my 2 most vulnerable groups of students in the front, I would probably not ever do that. I'd want to have some type of, space in the middle to the back to where we have, we're able to, have more of a secure spot for them and more supervision for them. But I do agree, the bus loop in the back was a great idea, and being able to have the long parent lines so that, because right now we do the two, and we do a great job for what we have, but, being able to revamp that, to save our parents' time and for safety and security would be definitely a plus.
And it was Schenkel Schultz that kept the drop where it is now,
No,
right?
they moved it.
They moved it to the west, which is, I think, from my perspective, the only other place it could go, because you're gonna need to come out on Griffin. You can't, in my mind, get the buses in and out off North Shore
Right.
in its current arrangement, and then making that left turn back into town. But I think how they had it off to the west, in that separate bus loop by the cafeteria side where that visitor parking is now, made a lot of sense and was a really thoughtful design to still give us all that long parking along North Shore coming into campus, more to the south. I thought it was a good design.
And it's been there before.
Yeah.
The entrance to the school's been there before? Huh. Very good. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
Can I ask another question? Was there a capacity increase that you were looking for, or is it more just to renovate the older?
It's a permanent capacity increase.
Of
So-
what? What were you looking for? Because I know there was
Gosh, you can
projections
ask
that
me
went all the way up and down. I just wasn't sure.
So their total permanent capacity right now is around 850. Basically, would be bringing it back up to that, but
Okay.
replacing, those portables and those old. So essentially, the capacity would be the same, but what we are looking for is more efficient space. Right now, Beverly Shores has always been my poster child for capacity and how fish capacity doesn't match utilization capacity. And so, trying to make sure that we have the appropriate resource spaces, those appropriate itinerant spaces. And if I can talk about the collaborative spaces just a little bit, so we got the K-8 model from a prototype from Orange County, and they were very big on those collaborative spaces. So I think that, as we've learned from them, we are using them, I think, a little bit more effectively. Fruitland Park, one of the architects, I don't remember which one, talked about how those spaces now are basically enclosed with 3 walls, and then the fourth wall might be open. And so, it becomes a little more controlled space. In Fruitland Park, there's fewer of them. And so basically they're, I think, going to be a little bit more effective space.
And I don't want to speak too early. I think that when I think as an educator about that space, like when I walk it, it's exciting to see it, and I think that we would evolve into it, but I think it also takes more planning and being conscientious, and those are all things that we don't have time for right now, that we're not feeling like we have the capacity in which to plan. Well, when you think about the space that I have extra space when I'm trying to attend to some other things. So I don't want to take it away too soon either. Like I just was curious at this point in the game, like what are we seeing in those spaces? The last time I went, I remember thinking, it looked more like a storage space, which we heard from somebody that said we saw some storage spaces and we look for that. It's like closet space, it's like money. The more you have, the more you use, right? So I just feel like, I don't want to take it away too soon. I think it has a lot of potential, even for teachers in collaborative planning, but it just, when you think about classroom space and intervention space and itinerant, like there's spaces we need in these schools that are really important too.
Yeah, and I think at Fruitland Park, we have worked towards a mix of that.
I think that's great.
There's fewer spaces. Part of that is cost savings, frankly.
Sure.
But it's also looking for more effective space, recognizing that really where a lot of our schools, especially our older schools, are lacking is in resource space and collaborative space and places for people to come together. And also those pull-out spaces. You looked at Fruitland Park and they were doing pull-outs in the hallway. Well, at least if you have an inset room in the hallway, there's a more effective place to do that than, trying to do it right outside somebody's classroom.
My only other thought, and this is just a suggestion for later, it's something to do with this but not quite, was I know we're putting time and effort into the structured classroom, and one of the components that stood out to me when we were discussing structured classroom was how overwhelming a space can be for students that are struggling emotionally and behaviorally. And some of these prototypes we're seeing are very stimulating. And they look beautiful to me. I'm not lying. Like when I saw that library, one of them put up there, it was like, wow. But then I think about these students that are really struggling in our environments and the money and the time that teachers are putting into spaces and that we are considering putting into spaces that then get torn apart in a matter of minutes by students that are really struggling. And one of the first things they say in that structured classroom is minimizing. I don't know how that fits in this design. I don't know what that visual stimulation, and I don't want to, we have one population, we have another population, but this is a shared space, and so I don't know if they're, but even just having a conversation at the table and what that looks like and
I
feels
think
like.
you just have to really avoid those extremes. You know, you don't want to be so
Right.
bland and institutional.
Right,
At the same time, you don't want to
exactly.
be where there's so many distractions, I can't pay attention to the
Right.
person teaching me.
And some of those pictures, I was like, woo, like I can imagine, right? The kids walking like, well, I'm not listening to anything right now because there's so much going on around me that it's quite overstimulating. When I think about our population, I appreciated many of the firms. There were a couple that spoke to the ESE population of Beverly Shores, and that is a big proponent of your campus and your students' needs. And so it might be worth a conversation to have that.
Yeah,
see
and
this-
I think that's something that we can have that conversation with any architect that's selected. You know, that's kind of a conversation, one of the stakeholder meetings that we would have would be with teaching and learning and be like, what does that need look like? You know, what, do you want a really bright stimulating space? Or do you want one that, you know, to me, honestly, I think like Aurelia Cole, the colors there, that kind of light purple and the first floor, you know, it's honestly a little more gentle space than one that's like, wow, that's really bright.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
yeah.
And I think just a general statement from me, I agree some of that stuff was a little vibrant and over the top, but I think there were a few firms that stood out as really being more thoughtful and engaged with what Beverly Shores is, wants to be, will be, the focus on the flamingos, the focus on just the pride on that campus, the little details that don't actually go into the design, but as much as how you utilize that space around it, those really, really stood out to me.
I agree 100. I think I took very similar notes in that regard. And I love that everybody said they would listen too, so I think that element is going to
I
be
think
critical.
that's important.
Really important.
Yeah.
Cool. Right?
Yep.
Any other questions? We have all the information we need to complete our thing? Okay, very good, and we'll have those back no later than tomorrow. All right? Very good.
Today.
Today or tomorrow?
Today, you said.
Tomorrow. By tomorrow.
If we wanted to, on the board's agenda for Monday, if I could have them by tomorrow so I could let the superintendent know what.
I'm ready.
All right, some people have already got their
Dave and I are looking I did too. I got to make my choice. Listen, I wrote the numbers.
All right, very good. Okay, well, so board, we got one more topic here that
Who was going to take these? Who was going to collect these? Okay, mine's good.
which is probably going to be a,
You already did this part and made it match? You did that already? Whatever. So I just put 0 on everything except the one I want?
I have no comments.
Did you hear me? Can I just put 0
I
on
had a lot
everything
of
except the
comments.
one I
I got to
want?
fix my points, so I'm sorry.
got a lot of comments.
I mean, you have an electronic copy too.
Yeah, well, I'll give it to you before I leave.
No, me too. You'll have it before I leave. Don't leave.
Okay, I won't.
Don't leave.
Thanks.
All right, so our next topic does not seem to be a light one. It's going to require some thought. You feel like you're ready to move forward? Does anybody need a quick break before we do
Take a
it?
quick break.
Okay, quick break it is.
Oh, good, I'll do my points.
Oh, do mine, Mrs.
Discussion following the presentations we had in our last board meeting about the social media litigation so you went back and did some homework for us.
Some questions out to both firms. Got a set of responses from Terrell Hogan, which was the second firm to present, which was Wayne Hogan and then Alan Pickard. And one of the reasons, I got a response from the first firm as well, and the response was, hey, we're going to be in California in court tomorrow, so we're preparing for those hearings on the social media litigation, which kind of answers some of the questions I had and you all had. I focused the questions to the firms based on cost, which was Bill's primary concern, leadership, which was Stephanie's main concern, and then kind of what exactly does the strategy or the procedural benefits, pros, cons of the JCCP, which is the California State Court Consolidated Actions, or the MDL, which is the multi-district federal litigation. I gave you some handouts, one of which is the press release. So Joseph Van Zant Davis was the young guy that presented on behalf of the first firm. So Joseph Van Zant is Davis's law partner. He is appointed as co-lead counsel for the JCCP, the State Court Action in California. And what I also learned is he's also on the Plaintiff Steering Committee leadership team for the MDL, so both. So he's covering both ends. So they're bringing cases both in the MDL and the JCCP, both. So that's, I'm surprised at that. What Davis had sent me was this report that I gave you. It's from Law 360, and it was a order was entered on Friday in the JCCP in California State Court that addressed some of the concerns that were raised by the second firm at the last workshop also. If you remember, the second firm, part of the reasoning for recommending the MDL over the state court action was Section 230 of the Federal Communications Act, which is the protection that all the social media companies have, where as long as they're considered as publishers of information, they're exempt from liability, essentially. The order that was entered on Friday in state court pretty much said, hey, the Ninth Circuit's already ruled on this, and as long as we're not claiming that they're making some type of publishing decision, Section 230 doesn't apply. So they've already said that negligence claims in the state court actions can proceed. So that's already been cleared, that hurdle's been cleared in the state court action. So that's a good sign. It kind of, again, puts the state court action a little bit ahead of the federal litigation at this particular point in time. I was going to talk about, just real quick, so the leadership structure of both the JCCP and the MDL is that each case is considered like a consolidation of all these massive multiple cases over multiple jurisdictions, consolidated into one in front of one judge at the state court level and in front of one judge at the federal court level, and that judge's obligation, duty is to essentially preside over all the pretrial proceedings, so all the depositions, discovery, pretrial hearings, things like that, and get it to the point where all the common issues of fact and law are addressed by one court instead of having multiple courts try and weigh in on these issues and reach different conclusions. So having someone on the leadership team is important, and what I found is that leadership team is the one that they front all the litigation costs, so their firms are responsible for all those upfront costs. They're also the ones that handle all the pleadings, all the drafting, all the pretrial discovery, all of that stuff on behalf of all of the plaintiffs. So if you file, say for example, my firm could file in either one of these, we wouldn't be lead counsel, we would simply be a tag along, if you would, and we're relying on lead counsel's ability to properly try the case, or not try the case, but go through the pretrial proceedings, and then if it gets to a point pretrial where there's a settlement negotiation, again, lead counsel is the one that handles that. Non-lead counsel, so again, if our firm were to be the one, we would have the option to participate in the global settlement if we wanted to, but we don't have to, and then we'd have your own action filed against proceed with your own action against the same defendants. So that's the difference between leadership and non-leadership counsel. Based on the answers from the second firm, they don't currently have anyone in a leadership position on either of the JCCP or the MDL, but they anticipate at some point in time perhaps someone from another firm they're associating with being on that leadership team. I thought that was at least important to note. The federal-state coordination also will play a role, and this question didn't fully get answered. I'm hoping it gets answered when the first firm fully responds to the questions after the Tuesday hearing. But between federal and state courts, when you have parallel causes of action between state court actions and then the federal MDL, the judges in both cases are encouraged to collaborate and coordinate on all those pretrial proceedings. So there's not multiple depositions or discovery taken in each jurisdiction. You coordinate amongst all, and then the common areas of law and fact are still determined in that coordinated fashion. I don't quite have an answer yet from any of them whether or not that is taking place yet or is supposed to take place. Then which court would take the lead on that? That's where I'm unclear. Is the federal judge going to listen to the state court judge when they ruled on something, or vice versa, and who has to follow who? They all have to follow the Ninth Circuit and the Supreme Court, so that's the federal, as far as the federal questions of law go. With the state court action, state court's going to prevail, state law is going to prevail, and the federal court would still apply state law if there's state court actions brought as part of the MDL. And then the other piece that I want to touch on before I just have you guys ask questions is attorney's fees. If the lawsuit is successful, all the attorney's fees and costs will be taken out of a common settlement fund if it ends up settling. Or if there's a judgment, the chances are it'll create some type of common fund that everyone now receives money from. The lawyers, once that fund is established, are responsible for petitioning the court to determine what is a reasonable attorney's fee to be awarded to those firms that did all the heavy lifting to essentially create the fund. I've got one firm, at least to acknowledge and agree so far, that if the court establishes a reasonable attorney's fee that is different from the quoted percentage that they have given to us, they'll honor and abide by that lower percentage if that is the case. So I know that was your concern.
They have to, right?
Not necessarily. If they draft their engagement agreement in a way where it essentially says, despite what the court may say, you're agreeing to pay me.
Oh, okay.
It's contractual.
We got done to sign on that.
Right. So depending on what the engagement agreement says, I'm going to make sure that we have some type of protection. So whatever the court determines is a reasonable fee, that is all the percentage we would pay out of
They don't have to
whatever
agree to
portion
do
is.
that, which is the crazy part, right? They can say we're not.
But the judge is only going to give them so much, so the courts are going to have to, and then try and get it from us as we're running down spending our.
Right.
Well, we wouldn't sign an agreement. You wouldn't let us sign an agreement.
No, I mean.
No matter what, you're going to pay us 35%.
So which firm said they would agree to it?
Well, the only one that's responded so far was Terrell Hogan. That's the second
Because
firm.
the other guy's in court.
Yes, they're in court dealing with this right now. So he asked for a little more time to respond, essentially. I sent this stuff out on Friday at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So what questions do you all have from the last workshop and then the fire hose I just pointed in your direction now?
Well, just so I'm clear, when you say first and second, who has the person that's a member of leadership already?
First.
First?
Team.
But they're the ones that haven't responded?
Correct.
Got it.
They're the ones that file state.
They're recommending, so they can file in both, but they're recommending state. Yes. For us, they're recommending state.
Then I'm saying the other group. That's the decider for me.
Yeah, so what's the main difference, as simplified as possible, between state and federal, and how that plays out here? Because in my mind, if they settle in one, they're going to have to settle in both, or, I mean, this is really overly simplified, but it doesn't seem like it really matters which one we pick, because if either one of them gets a settlement, we still get an award.
Right. I mentioned to, I think, Stephanie, when she asked the question was, you're not going to see a situation where one is successful and one is not.
Right.
It's not going to happen. That's where the level of federal-state coordination comes into play between the judges. If there is a ruling that significantly affects, either the defendant's position or their potential for success or not, it should apply to the defendants regardless of whether they're defending in the federal litigation or defending in the state litigation. If there's a global settlement, again, it's going to be coordinated amongst them all because, again, you're not going to have a settlement in a federal lawsuit and then agree to still defend and try to lengthen the state court action.
The federal is going to be the end-all be-all on this more than likely.
I don't know. That's the question I don't have answered yet.
Surely someone's going to appeal it, if whoever, and then it gets up. When it gets okay, this is my experience as a board member only. We won at state level like twice on an issue. Then it got to the district level and federal, and that's when it got overturned and sent back to state again. Anyway, it was on and on. I say go federal right off the get-go and be done with it.
But didn't you tell me
And they're more
federal's
liberal.
timeline is longer?
Based on what we were told at the last workshop, it sounds like the state court action will proceed quicker, and based on the order that's already been entered, so far it seems like that is the case. I mean, they've already dealt with some of the issues and dealt with some of the causes of action and dealt with the Section 230 issue, which was one of the concerns that Terrell Hogan raised as why federal might make more sense. But again, in dealing with the Section 230 issue, they followed Ninth Circuit law and Supreme Court law, which is the same thing that the federal court should do. So the federal court that's designated to handle this is in the Northern District of California. So Ninth Circuit is binding precedent, and Supreme Court, obviously. California State Court has already seen that they're agreeing with Ninth Circuit precedent and Supreme Court. So I'm not sure how quick the federal court will move. In my experience, they tend to move slower than state courts, just
But
in general.
ultimately, you could get there anyway.
Right.
But he just said he doesn't think, and this is all speculation, my understanding, that we would get a favorable ruling in the state and an unfavorable ruling in federal.
That will not happen.
See?
No. But if we we're not probably gonna be the ones appealing. So if the ones that lost appeal,
Right.
it's gonna get to federal no matter what. So why not just get there? And it's found freaking money. I don't know what we're talking about in time, but I think no matter what, there's gonna be a period of time. We probably will not even be on the board when, you know what I'm saying? That's how this stuff works out. So we're joining this big class thing. I favor going to where it's gonna be the most liberal in our favor, which I think is gonna be federal over state. We're just more conservative in Florida. And so if we wanna do it one time, it'd be done. I say we go with.
You go to California State Court or Ninth Circuit. The both are very liberal.
Yeah. I've got I know which way I'd go.
So I was thinking the guy is already on the committee. I would rather go with a guy that's there, that's doing the work, that's in the, that's where I was at. It's quicker. He's already filed what Terrell mentioned he was cautious about. I just kind of was leaning more towards the guy that's in leadership.
And he's
so
on the
that's funny.
leadership.
He's on the leadership committee. He's doing the lawsuit. He's there now doing it. And when he said you probably wouldn't get, and I get the appeal process, so that was when I called James on Friday. I said, quite likely, if we get, that is exactly what I asked him, Mr. Mathias, to your point. I said, if we get a favorable ruling from the state, can't the Supreme Court overturn that? And he said, you're likely not going to get a yes from one and a no from the other. It's going to be both win or both lose, and that will be the end.
Well, the object of mass tort litigation too is to reach a settlement. If there's a settlement, there is no appeal. I mean.
Yeah, but with the settlement, everybody wins. So why
Right.
does it matter whether it's the
Especially
state or
It wouldn't, it'd
federal?
be quicker, because it'd be over
Yeah,
faster.
but we'd still get it in the federal.
We would get it.
So is there a
They would settle with
chance
both, correct.
that
That's
the
why I just don't
settlement would be
understand the whole
greater
conversation to begin with.
in one versus the other? Would it be greater perhaps on the state than on the federal?
My understanding is
This is the first one, right? Correct.
the common fund that would be established would be global, so it would cover state, federal, it's one and done. And it'd be coordinated between the two jurisdictions.
Can we go home?
Is Mark the third?
1, 2, 3.
All right, so
Federal to start with.
the federal, that was the first guy.
No.
Now your state?
State was first.
I mean, the state, that's what I meant to say.
Yes.
I'm just trying to confuse people. The state, that was the first guy. And they had listed out a multitude of Florida school districts, but they're not really here in Florida. Is that right? Whereas the second group, who is aiming for the federal approach, they actually are local.
Jacksonville, right?
So, I mean, I think.
The guy that's using his clout, who's not gonna do anything, but he has the relationship with all the school board attorneys,
Yeah.
that guy's out of the West Coast or something in
Yes.
Florida.
Bay County.
Yeah.
They count.
Yeah.
But that,
So,
but
but
did
he's
you
doing
not?
nothing.
But neither is, you just said that Terrell's not on the lead council either.
The second firm is not in any leadership teams yet. They think they will be, but they're not yet. The first team is, but the lead counsel, that is Alabama firm. So it's an Alabama firm leading the charge there for a national conglomerate of whoever those law firms are that they're partnered with. You've got the Jacksonville firm that's in their responses saying that it's a different firm, not them, that's going to take the lead for their team. And it's the multi-page handout, the last question. Which lawyers on your team, if any, have been designated as lead or co-lead counsel for the JCCP or MDL, and what does it mean? So their person that they think is going to be on there is Cyrus Mary, not from their firm. So it's someone else. I don't know where that firm is from. I haven't looked into that.
I just guess because it's national, I didn't think that Florida was as big as a requirement, because it's every school district in the 50 states, it sounds like it's going to jump on board.
I mean, I don't disagree with that statement. In my mind, this could be, again, overly simplified, but I think when all else is equal, I look more at people presenting and kind of the feel I get from them, and whether this is right or wrong, I gravitate more towards the folks from Jacksonville and the federal way of thinking with this, and just think regardlessly, it's going to end up federal on some level, or we win out in either way. So I don't know, I give a slight edge to them in the federal side.
And I could go either way. If I'm
I mean,
honest. I will
buy
say
and sell,
this,
but-
this was a really interesting thought, this is what I was gonna ask, which whatever firm we decide to go with, Be Real should also be added to the list, and I don't know how we do that, but that's another social media app that was probably within the last year came. Exact same situation, exact same, I'm sure algorithms, it's the exact same addictive
What's it
feature that
called?
brings, it's called
Be
Be Real.
Real.
It's a French company, I looked that up this
You
weekend.
got a 5-minute window to press or upload exactly
And
what
I
you're doing
believe
in that
that-
time to avoid the vanity of it all.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of it, yeah.
You can't just cater to, I'm at a concert.
But you
and
have to pick up the phone and respond in a certain amount of
It's like
time.
5 minutes or something.
You have like a certain set time to respond. And to that point, first of all, Jay should get some royalties from that, because that was my 10-year-old that was like, well, what about Be Real, Mom? We were having the discussion. He does not have social media, by the way. He's way too young. But anyway, he, exactly, except he's probably 13 on Facebook and has his own account that I don't know about. To that point, I feel like any one of these attorneys should go for what's to prevent another company in the future from doing the same exact thing. So we're talking about prevention and negligence and all these things, and now they're gonna pay out a bunch of money for the results of addiction to social media. But what's going to stop the next Be Real or the next Snapchat or the next? So there's gotta be some type of policy or governance of social media to
I think
prevent.
the fact that they're gonna be sued and
I don't
now
know,
that.
they're gonna make billions of dollars though, is it gonna stop them? And the next one's already, it's not even on there, Be Real isn't even listed, and it's doing the same thing.
With the injunctive relief.
I know, we should sue them, James. How does your firm feel about going on the phone and suing Be Real?
That's expensive. No, the injunctive relief is what will force them to change their practice, the ones that are named.
Right,
And,
the ones that are named.
but you're right, the nenext one that comes along.
Correct.
Will find another way.
Correct.
Like to get around this particular, issue and still, because there's money to be made, and just the way it is.
So, anyway, I know you can't, we like to talk about what we're gonna vote for here.
What other questions do you have, or questions for the firms? I mean,
That's my question.
Would
At
they,
Be Real.
I think,
Yeah.
are they amenable to adding additional, what are they,
Defendants,
companies or
right,
defendants?
well, here's what and again, I'm used to class action litigation, both state and federal, which is similar but different. So mass torts, both in the JCCP and in the MDL, they have what's called a master complaint filed. So in the master complaint, I believe in the state court action, I think there's 13 counts total that are in the master complaint, and then you can file a complaint that's any subsection of those. And they include even like wrongful death. So there's been issues, because it's not just school districts suing the social media company, it's also individuals, it's whoever, right? Anyone who's been wronged by the addictive nature of social media. In the MDL, I believe it's 18 counts. So there's other, claims that could be made. But I don't know is, can you go back after you've already filed the master complaints to add co-defendants? Or now does that restart the entire process? Because it is, like typical litigation, if you amend your complaint, you're essentially restarting the clock.
Yeah, I know.
And
Yeah.
I'm not sure that with the expenses involved in the case this massive, I'm not sure if they would be willing to or if they can, to be honest.
We'll at least put it on their radar, that they'll be coming behind doing the same thing.
Right.
So how can we prevent that? Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
No further questions from me.
What?
No further questions? The witness may step down.
Maybe so.
All right, so we put this on the next Monday?
This coming Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're already amending the agenda anyway, so.
And then will one of us just make a motion then, as a recommendation?
The
or-
superintendent's make a recommendation.
Should make a recommendation.
We're hiring the law firm.
I'll talk to you, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Figure out where it comes from.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you for that. Hey, that's the end of our topics. Board member comments? You have anything?
Nothing for me.
I'm good.
No, sir.
All right, me neither. Superintendent? Attorney?
Nope.
Oh, hallelujah. All right, not seeing any objection to adjourning, we are adjourned. Have a great day.